From the southeast corner of Ohio Stadium, the Buckeyes take the field behind Old Glory as Nate Ebner leads the way. Big Ten Network football is being presented by the United States Marine Corps. Today from Ohio Stadium, it's the Rockets of Toledo out of the MAC taking on the 15th ranked Buckeyes of Ohio State. And on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon, welcome to Columbus. Tom Hart with Derek Rackley. We'll hear from Lisa Byington in a moment. As the Buckeyes take the field, they'll do so with multiple quarterbacks. And it's time now for the Principal Financial Group edge to the game rack. Two very capable and efficient QBs under center.
Well, Tom, for the Toledo Rockets, they got to get the ball to Eric Page early and often. He's been an all-MAC conference performer the past couple of years, but he's even more dangerous as a kick returner. Walter Camp, first-team All-American. And for Ohio State, like the burner, is in tight end Jake Stoneburner. 4 catches, 3 of them for touchdowns last week. I expect him to have another big afternoon for the Buckeyes.
It's a dangerous Toledo offense as Luke Fickell is at the helm for game number 2. He joined Woody Hayes as the last Ohio State coach to pitch a shutout in his debut last week against Akron. And on the other side for the Toledo Rockets, they're led by Tim Beckman, who's turned around the program. 4 straight losing seasons, turned around with a bowl appearance last season, and 14-12 overall. Toledo started with a 58-point outburst against 10th ranked New Hampshire out of the FCS. Their offense seemingly hit its stride last week. They'll also play 2 different quarterbacks. I said it was gorgeous. I was not lying. The weather today much better than last week throughout Big Ten country. 72 degrees, slight breeze, and partly sunny for the rest of the afternoon here at a filled to capacity Ohio Stadium. Toledo won the toss. The Rockets have deferred, and Ohio State will receive. And a matchup between 2 in-state schools. The Buckeyes haven't lost to a school within the Ohio borders since Oberlin eked out a 1-point win back in 1921. They look to keep that streak going today in front of a capacity horseshoe crowd. Jeremiah Detmer, a freshman from Hilliard, Ohio, will kick off for Toledo. Back to return Jamal Berry and Chris Fields for the Buckeyes.
Tom, the Buckeyes are happy they got Jamal Berry back there as a returner. Of course, Jordan Hall, another one of those dynamic guys, will not be playing today. But when you get Jamal Berry back there, a guy that's returned a lot of kicks in his career, they've got a lot of confidence in him to make some plays.
So Berry back 100% after the hamstring injury kept him out of action against Akron in week 1. Detmer gets us started at Ohio State. From the 4, it's number 4 Berry to the 25 and 30, and he bursts out all the way to the 33-yard line. 27-yard return for Jamal Berry. Deontay Morrow with the stop for Toledo on special teams. And here's our first look at Joe Boserman. Last week against Akron, 12 of 16 for 163 yards. He's 3rd in the nation in passer rating coming into this game.
And Tom, he looked really good last week. He looked comfortable, showed a lot of poise from the quarterback position. And what I liked is that he protected the football, didn't force things, and made plays offensively for the Buckeyes.
We'll also see Braxton Miller in this game as soon as the 3rd or maybe 4th quarters today. And Ohio State keeps it on the ground. This is Verlon Reed, and Reed takes it all the way to the 44-45-yard line. A gain of 12 on first down for the Buckeyes. And that will reset the chains for Ohio State. Starters for Ohio State up front, anchored by Michael Brewster, the 4-year starter at center. Makes his 38th career start today. Backs and receivers will see Hyde and a host of running backs, including Rod Smith and Jamal Berry. 3 capable backs for the Buckeyes. Out of the eye now, and it is a power running game that the Buckeyes start with and lean on in their base offense. Hyde gets hit at the line, and he is hit and hit hard. Dropped by Terrell Anderson, who gets a start in front of Dan Moles today. Let's take a look at the Auto Owners Insurance starting defense. Out front, Riley, Roberts, Lamb, and Fatinicum. And I mentioned Terrell Anderson with that stop. He's trying to replace Dan Moles, who was the 10th leading tackler in the nation last week. Toledo's lost their middle linebacker for at least the next few weeks. Talented secondary led by Merrow at cornerback. 3 picks last year. Zach Bourne is the fullback in motion for Ohio State. And Bosserman wants a throw on first down. Over the middle, complete. He finds Reed. Second big game of the day for Reed. His second first down. Tyquan Page finally brings him down. So on second and long, a pass play for Bosserman, and Ohio State's got another fresh set of downs.
Well, once again, a good start for the Buckeyes. You're seeing Joe Bosserman really comfortable back there in the pocket. He saw Verlon Reed wide open in the zone and delivered a strike right between his numbers.
So Reed with a first down carry and now a first down catch for Ohio State. Carlos Hyde remains in the game at tailback. Keep an eye on Jake Stoneburner, the tight end to the near side. Here's a toss to Hyde, and Hyde has great blocking in front and takes it past the 40 to the 38, a pickup of 4. 2nd and 6 for Ohio State. Carlos Hyde, a 6-foot, 238-pound sophomore from Naples, Florida, had 93 yards on the ground last week against Akron. And we talked with Luke Fickell yesterday about the seemingly imminent return of some of their running backs, including Jordan Hall, who has since been ruled ineligible. And he said Hyde and Smith did the job last week. They earned the right to have carries. To throw again on second down to the flat and complete for another first down. Ohio State marches. This is Corey Brown, a sophomore from Upper Darby, PA, is known as Philly. And he has a first down for Ohio State.
Well, once again, we're seeing Bosserman really comfortable throwing the football. Sometimes you can take this for granted, but perfect delivery outside of Philly. Brown was able to make the completion.
Hyde wrapped up in the middle of that line as Toledo looks for a stop. The Rockets had 5 takeaways last week against New Hampshire to help pace another high-scoring affair.
And Tom, you'll start to see this little no huddle that Ohio State starts doing. They've got a lot of guys with the wristbands on. They'll signal plays in from the sidelines, not really hurry up, but want to make sure that Toledo's not substituting, and they'll call plays out of that no huddle offense.
Play action. Bosserman looks deep to the end zone. One-handed grab and another score for Stoneburner. Three times Bosserman and Stoneburner hooked up for scores last week. And now the opening drive for Ohio State ends in familiar fashion. Derek Irwin, the holder, Drew Basil to kick it away. Ohio State wastes no time on the ground and through the air. And it ends with a Bosserman strike to his favorite tight end, Jake Stoneburner. 15th ranked Ohio State with a 7-0 lead. The always dangerous Toledo offense will be on the field from the Horseshoe when we return to Columbus. Already 4 touchdown catches this season for Jake Stoneburner, the redshirt junior out of Dublin, Ohio. He and Joe Bosserman hook up on the opening drive for Ohio State.
Was surprising on this, the defensive coverage by Toledo. You saw all the defensive backs were close to the line of scrimmage, which is pretty surprising when you got a threat like Stoneburner. And look at him just slide right through the star linebacker and get into the end zone.
Drew Basil will put it in the air for Ohio State. The always dangerous Eric Page set to return for Toledo. Walter Camp award list and one of the best returners in the nation. Page deep, will let it fly over his head, and no chance for a return here for Toledo. So the Rockets come to the field with one of the most dangerous offenses in the nation, over 30 points now for 8 straight games. Tom Hart with Derek Rackley, but story of the game so far, Ohio State wasting no time marching down on the Rockets on their opening drive.
Well, impressive to see Ohio State pick up where they left off last week. Of course, Joe Bosserman had a really good game last week, carries it over into week 2. And one of the things I talked about, Jake Stoneburner, expected him to be special again this afternoon. First drive, he already makes an effect.
Well, there's no question Bosserman has a comfort zone in his tight end Stoneburner, and he found him on that opening drive for the score. Now, Austin Danton last week against New Hampshire had a very efficient game, played about 3/4 in the blowout, and they keep it on the ground. First play, Adonis Thomas carries it past the 25, forced out at the 26, a pickup of 6. 2nd and 4. Here's what the Toledo starters look like on offense. Up front, some big guys: Vandermeulen, Manley, Karen, Mance, and Marukian. And the backs and receivers, Adonis Thomas has come alive over the last year and a half. Had a big game against Purdue and a win against the Boilermakers last year. That, he says, was his coming out party.
False start. Offense, number 24. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Alex Kemp is our referee today, and it was Thomas, the senior running back, who moved in the backfield.
Tom, when you're coming into a place like Ohio Stadium, you've got to play with so much discipline. Early on, you see a good carry on first down, but a false start sets him back. Now you're looking at 2nd and long.
2nd and 9 now for the Rockets, and Thomas adjusts in the backfield next to Dan. They're going to put it in the air to the flat again. This is Page. He's dangerous and has speed, and he has a Toledo first down. Now for the Auto Owners Insurance starting defense for the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Nathan Williams has been bothered with a leg injury. JT Moore will see more time than he at the Leo end today. Sweat, Klein, and Sabino are the linebackers. Quickly to the air again for Toledo. Their no-huddle offense finds Page for a 2nd time, and this time he picks up nearly 5 yards on first down. So a secondary that will be tested early and often. Clark and Roby are the cornerbacks. We'll see about 75% nickel coverage today, according to the Ohio State coverage. That will mean extra time for Tyler Moeller, their nickelback. Noble is a tight end in motion, and out of the shotgun again. Danton has time over the middle, complete. Page with his 3rd grab of the day, but he's immediately dropped by C.J. Barnett. It's another Toledo first down. We said they were a high-powered offense, and here they come.
Well, Tom, you talked about Tyler Moeller, and he was the one that was lined up in coverage against Eric Page right there. However, it was a zone defense. Good stick by C.J. Barnett on the tackle, but nonetheless moves the chains for the Rockets.
Trips to the near side for Toledo, trailing 7-0. 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. Play action again. Danton has all day to throw, and he completes it to Reedy. And Reedy has a big gain and a first down. Dominic Clark with the stop. Bernard Reedy, sophomore from St. Petersburg, Florida, last week at 113 yards and 2 scores. And now they'll flip the trips to the top of the formation. No huddle. Danton in a hurry to keep going and keep Ohio State on its heels. They move the pocket for him down the sideline, and he overthrew his man. First miss for Austin Danton. He was looking for Reedy. High-powered, very up-tempo offense for Toledo.
Yeah, and you're going to see Austin Danton and Terrence Owens today, two somewhat similar quarterbacks. They say that Danton's probably the guy that doesn't have as much arm strength, although the coaches feel like he's worked on it in the offseason. Very good running quarterback. Flip it around with Terrence Owens. We'll see him a little bit later. Much better passer. Maybe not as adept running the football, but both very talented quarterbacks.
Page goes in motion. Danton keeps an eye on his best receiver. They set up the screen to Thomas as Danton gets hit, and Thomas takes it inside the 30, and he crawls his way down to the 27-yard line. John Simon brought the pressure on the quarterback Danton and put him on his backside, but he got the throw away.
Well, Tom, when you have a wide receiver like Eric Page, a lot of times you can use him as a decoy, as they did on the last play, not this one right here. But Ohio State will be devoting so much attention to number 12 that a lot of times that will open up other guys in the passing game.
Third down for Toledo. Danton looking for Page, finds him, knocked away. Great coverage by the linebacker, Andrew Sweat, and that will force a fourth down for Toledo.
Andrew Sweat is one of the returning starters on this Ohio State defense. Obviously, a lot of moving parts to replace for Ohio State. A lot of guys graduating on to the NFL. But a beautiful play of him sliding around the backside, using the right hand to knock it out, keeping the left hand off of his hip so he doesn't get called for interference.
45-yard attempt for Ryan Casano. This kicker's coming back from an ACL tear on his kicking leg. Trying to get Toledo on the board, and it will fade right and stay wide. Toledo comes up short on its opening drive, thanks to great coverage on third down by the weak side linebacker Andrew Sweat. Casano had a chance, but he pushes Toledo wide right on their opening drive. Big Ten Network football is presented by the United States Marine Corps, the few, the proud, the Marines, and by Auto Owners Insurance. Get to know the independent agents representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. Back in the Horseshoe, where Ohio State leads 7-0. 25-year-old quarterback Joe Bosman under center for the Buckeyes. And Carlos Hyde in for the second series. Takes it straight away for a gain of 2. 2nd and 8 now for Hyde and Ohio State.
Tom, much like the quarterback situation last week, running backs played pretty well. So that's the reason why Jamal Berry, who's also in that running back rotation, number 4, we'll see him at some point today. But Carlos Hyde and Rod Smith both played really well last week. Rod Smith did have the fumble inside the red zone against Akron, but for the most part, those guys ran the football very effectively.
2nd and 8 out of the eye now for Ohio State. Bosman to throw. He's had a perfect start thus far. Long ball incomplete. Ohio State, the first of a triple header today here from the Horseshoe. And if you can't find your school's game, go to btn.com/gamefinder to see where you can find your game. Well, late yesterday, news broke that 3 players that were expected back in action for Ohio State were not cleared by the NCAA. One of those was their running back, Jordan Hall. Hall spent plenty of time getting reps in practice this week. It's not known when those 3 players will return. It's hopeful that they'll return against Miami next week down at Dolphin Stadium. But still a lot of I's have to be dotted and T's have to be crossed for that to happen. Bosman steps up in the pocket, pump fakes, and gets a couple of yards on the scramble. That will bring up 4th and 4 now for Ohio State. Malcolm Riley with the stop. The biggest issue for Luke Fickell and his players that he expected back is that all of these players saw significant reps in practice this week. And it is, in addition to Hall, it also includes defensive backs Travis Howard and Corey Brown. News wasn't broken until late yesterday afternoon that none of these 3 would be available. What effect did that have on Ohio State and their game plan?
Yeah, Tom, you talked about these guys were in practice, and I don't want to sit here and say that they were taking reps away from the other guys because obviously they didn't know. But Travis Howard, their defensive corner, number 7, was a guy that I really...
Oh, Toledo blocks the punt, and it's scooped up by the Rockets. A special teams play for Toledo has the Rockets down at the 1. Morgan Williams scooped up the block punt and took it to the doorstep.
Morgan Williams also factoring into that running back rotation for the Rockets. And when you're coming into a place like Ohio Stadium, this is exactly what you need. Make a play on special teams, create an extra possession for your offense. Exactly what Morgan Williams does. Gives the Rockets the ball inside the 1-yard line.
Keyshawn Wiltshire, freshman from Cass Tech out of Detroit, blocked it coming in off the edge. Well, the Rockets force a 3 and out, and after the block punt, they're set up at 1st and goal. The running back is Fluellen, and a whistle to stop play before Toledo got the snap off. They jumped again. 2nd flag against the Rockets.
Ball start, offense, number 88, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
And Tom, this is where playing at home and in front of a crowd of over 100,000 that you definitely have the advantage. When your visiting team gets down inside the red zone, that's when the crowd comes alive and helps create those false start penalties.
So instead of 1st and goal from the 1, they're back out at the 6. Out of the shotgun, it's Danton trying to get his center's attention. Zach Karen is just a sophomore center. Danton looks short of the end zone. Page will stretch it to the goal line. No signal. and in. Touchdown Toledo. And so Page sneaks his way in on the underneath pass. And it's a first point scored against Ohio State in its brief 3-game history for Toledo.
Tom, you can almost sense it coming. They had Eric Page lined up on the inside slot, just sent him across on a short slant route.
Here you go. Toledo's lined up to go for 2 after the score. Page takes a direct snap out of the Wildcat. He rolls, throws, got it. And Toledo has the lead on Ohio State. A first quarter lead after choosing to go for 2. Hank Keeley is typically a defensive end, and you can bet that Toledo put some special plays in this week. First, the touchdown pass to Page, and then their all-star wide receiver lines up in the Wildcat and sneaks one in to give Toledo the early lead. A block punt sets up Toledo with 1st and goal at the 1. They get it in for a score and then go for 2 to take the lead on Ohio State. Buckeyes haven't lost to an in-state foe since 1921, when Oberlin got the Buckeyes in a 7-6 win. Chris Fields and Jamal Berry to return for Ohio State. Jeremiah Detmer puts it in the air for Toledo. This is Berry. Berry's got a lot of room in front already past the 20. And he takes it out to the 24-yard line before he's brought down. A 22-yard return. Well, it all started with this block kick for the Rockets. They got it off the edge, and then a 22-yard return for Morgan Williams set him up at the 1. They went backward after a 5-yard penalty, and then this score from Danton to Page. Page had a game last year. He scored 5 touchdowns against Central Michigan and threw for 1, so no big surprise that he would throw here. And he did so out of the Wildcat, finding his defensive end of all people for a score. And so Tim Beckman rolling the dice early, trying to take the lead, and Toledo executes. Zach Bourne is a fullback, and the pass is long and incomplete. Pressure on Joe Boserman, and it came from Malcolm Riley, the senior from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And that's one of the things we didn't see a whole lot of last week versus Akron, is that Boserman did not have a whole lot of pressure, not a whole lot of guys in his face. So now we're starting to see a couple of throws going offline, not looking as accurate as last week, but still been able to move the football when they're on offense.
Only Baylor's Robert Griffin and Chandler Harnish out of Northern Illinois had more efficient games and better passer ratings than Joe Boserman did last week against Akron. Even added a 15-yard touchdown run on a busted play. Boserman finds Verlon Reed, and Reed has been a first down machine thus far for Ohio State. He's brought down by Page, and a flag on the play towards the tail end. It will be the 3rd time that Reed has moved the chains for the Buckeyes. Verlon Reed is a redshirt freshman from Columbus, dual threat quarterback at Marion Franklin. And this Ohio State coaching staff, without DeVere Posey for another few games, has a lot of faith and confidence in their freshman wide receivers.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle. Defense number 2, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Page with the horse collar to bring down Reed.
Well, first you got a nice adjustment by Verlon Reed, the ball thrown behind him, and then you can see right there the left hand on the back of Verlon Reed's jersey and shoulder pads advances the football another 15 yards.
So the Buckeyes have it just shy of midfield now. Boserman was a perfect 3 for 3 on the opening drive for a score. He's misfired on 2 of his last 3 attempts. Here's Hyde now. Right side finds a hole, and Hyde, trying to get to the corner, picks up 4 on first down. Robert Bell with the stop. And now let's, for the first time today, say hello to our friendlies of Byington.
Hi, Tom. As if an 8-7 deficit won't get your attention, how about the voice of linebackers coach and former Buckeye Mike Vrabel? He was in the face of all his linebackers, and he said, look, our special teams didn't do the job, and even though we're backed up against our own goal line, we need to make that stop. We need to play more physical. We need to be tough. Stop looking so starry-eyed and play like champions. How's that for a 3-time Super Bowl champ?
That'll get your attention real quick. Now it's the Buckeyes offense trying to get something done on the end around again. Reed, his second carry, and he goes backwards this time and loses nearly 5 yards. Another stop by Terrell Anderson, the senior from Penn Hills, PA.
And you mentioned going backwards, Tom. I'm always a little bit concerned when they run those speed sweeps and then the wide receiver has to bubble outside, lose yardage. It gives that defense so much time to run over, find the right pursuit angles, and come in and make the tackle.
Play call came in from the sidelines. All of the wide receivers checked their wristbands to get the Ohio State call, and Bozeman facing a 3rd and 10 now for Ohio State. They roll the pocket, drop back, pressured, and dropped at the 39-yard line. Charles Rancifer came on the blitz. Flag on the play all the way down at the 35-yard line. A loss of 11 if it stands.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 3, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
That's 30 yards in penalties on this drive given up by the Toledo defense, and that one was a biggie. That was 26-yard swing after the flag on Desmond Merrow.
Well, you're going to take a look at it right there. All kinds of jabbing going on between Merrow and Reed, but a big break for the Buckeyes.
Merrow never had his face mask. He did have a fistful of jersey. Evan Spencer now in the game for Ohio State at one wideout. And Bozeman adjusts his fullback, Zach Bourne. This is Hyde straight ahead as Ohio State tries to establish a power running game. It's a pickup of 4. Now let's go to Dave Rebson in the studio for a Discover Card game break.
Illinois has taken the lead on South Dakota State. The true freshman, Donovan Young, his first career touchdown. Illini 7-0 over the Jackrabbits.
All right, thanks, Dave. Back here at Ohio Stadium. Ohio State trails Toledo by 1. Third possession, I should say, for the Buckeyes. They went 3 and out on their second, then had a punt block. Bozeman checks at the line. His offensive coordinator told him after the game last week he played a very wise game. Hyde is swallowed up right at the line and falls forward maybe for a couple.
Tom, one thing that's been interesting is that Reed Fregel's been in this entire series, and just now we're seeing Jake Stoneburner come back in the ballgame. Don't have a problem with Reed Fregel getting some snaps, but obviously we know how dangerous Stoneburner can be in the passing game. He just now makes his first appearance on this drive.
Rod Smith is in the game at tailback for Ohio State. Stoneburner had 2 touchdowns last year for the Buckeyes. He already has 4 this season. Bozeman goes deep down the sideline. Knocked away at the last second. Great coverage downfield from Tyquan Page. The intended receiver was Verlon Reed.
What I like Ohio State going and trying to take a shot downfield. They had man-on-man coverage. Verlon Reed was right in position. This is what we call a 50-50 ball. One of the guys has to go up and make a play. And right there it was Toledo on defense that knocked the ball away.
So long field goal attempt, a 47-yard attempt now for Drew Basil. Last year handled kickoffs and some long field goals. And he's trying to reclaim the lead for the Buckeyes. And Basil hooks it left. Special teams shaky for Ohio State early. A blocked punt and then a missed field goal. And Toledo with the momentum here at Ohio Stadium. Buckeyes come up empty on their second straight possession. 8-7, Rockets in front. Our triple header of action continues at 3:30 today. First, Eastern Illinois Northwestern go toe-to-toe, and then in prime time, Fresno State travels to 10th-ranked Nebraska. Or other regional action today only on BTN. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to see the game and start time in your area. New quarterback is Terrence Owens for Toledo. We expected them to split time, and he hands off on the first play to Adonis Thomas. What are the benefits for Toledo to play both Austin Danton and Terrence Owens?
Well, both of them are obviously capable and have shown, especially last year, that they're able to be successful. Austin Danton was the starter for most of the season. He ended up getting hurt. So in comes Terrence Owens. He does a really good job as a starting quarterback, gets him to the bowl game. Although they come up a little short, they still had success, and they like what both quarterbacks bring to the table.
They're very similar quarterbacks. It's not like one is a running and the other a passing quarterback. So it doesn't change what they do offensively. Owens operating out of the shotgun. And he is a lefty and finds Page, and here he goes. Eric Page has a step to the 25, 15, 10, and Toledo strikes again. He is one of the most dynamic players in all of college football. And Eric Page is now thrown for a two-point conversion and caught 2 touchdown passes. 66 yards from Owens to Page. And they're going to line up for 2 once again. Page out of the Wildcat. No kickers on the field. Page motions the crowd to get louder. Toledo playing with confidence, and now they will bring the kicker out. They had Casano, who wears the same number as his starting quarterback Danton, split out wide. Page will be the holder in this situation. 6 seconds on the play clock. And a knuckleball punched through by Casano. Toledo throwing the kitchen sink at Ohio State early. And why not? You figure you're going to have to do something a little bit crazy and unconventional to find a win in the horseshoe.
Well, you see why Tim Beckman is able to get another quarterback in. Watch John Marukian right here. He's going to come off and get the block on Dominic Clark. That's what will be just enough to spring Eric Page loose. Now, he's not the fastest guy in the world. Excuse me, the block was on Andrew Sweat. But you just see how much poise he has and confidence he has in his abilities. And he outruns C.J. Barnett and gets into the end zone. Another good look at him. Marukian delays, comes out, gets the block. And Eric Page, this is all he does in Toledo if you make plays. Already his 2nd touchdown of the day.
Two-play, 70-yard scoring drive for Toledo. Less than a minute off the clock. And with 2:18 still remaining in the first quarter, we've got a shootout. Jeremiah Detmer will put it in the air. Berry and Fields back for the Buckeyes. Been a special teams adventure so far today for Ohio State. Now Berry has to recover. Berry cuts it back at the numbers, and he's out to the 30, a return of 19 for Ohio State. We'll expect to see both Joe Balzerman and Braxton Miller in the game today for Ohio State. And the question for Ohio State was just when would Miller see action? And the answer, of course, is we'll let the game dictate that. Anytime we come up with a plan, 3rd series or 4th series, the game has a way of laughing at us and saying, not so fast. And certainly trailing by 8, and Balzerman being so efficient last week, you want to make sure the offense can get going.
Yeah, you also want to get his confidence back. He was so good on the first drive, stumbled a little bit to get the ball in the end zone the last couple, but that's the expectation that they placed last week when they were so effective putting the ball in the end zone.
Unbalanced line for Ohio State. They brought Shugarts over on the left side, and Rod Smith, the running back, picks up 4 on first down.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Rod Smith coming in as a running back, just a redshirt freshman. When you talk about intangibles, 6'3", 230 pounds, and a lot of times people have compared him to guys like Eddie George. Might be a little bit of a lofty comparison right now, but when you look at him, he definitely looks the part of a dominating running back.
Boserman has time, and he goes underneath. This is Stoneburner's second grab. His first one went for a score. Ohio State has been silent since. Byron Best, junior from Greenwood, South Carolina, with the tackle for Toledo.
And that time you got a chance to see Boserman go through his progression, and I like the fact that he didn't feel like he had to take a shot down the football field. Found Stoneburner on the shallow crosser, just pick up 4 or 5 yards. Now that leaves him in a manageable third down situation.
4 wide for Ohio State. Boserman lost the football, thought it was incomplete. Toledo falls on it, and they say it will indeed be an incomplete pass. Johnny Roberts thought he had a big fumble recovery for the Rockets. Regardless, it brings up 4th and 5, and Ohio State to punt it away.
You see a little bit of indecision right here by Boserman. Looked like he got locked into his target early on, put his eyes downfield and realized that his receiver was covered up. Don't really see a 10 personnel, which means 1 back and 4 wide receivers. Don't really see that a whole lot when Boserman's in the game. That's more of the Braxton Miller formation. But nonetheless, a little bit of indecision right there by Boserman.
Always dangerous. Eric Page set to return. Toledo sent pressure, and this is a high kick, but not very far, and it is taken in by Reedy for Toledo. So the Toledo offense back on the field, and let's go back to the Ohio Stadium turf with Lisa Byington.
Yeah, Tom, as you can probably imagine, this Toledo sideline that I'm over by, very energetic, a lot of fist pumping, a lot of smiles. I heard a couple guys say, hey, we're going to get this. We have them right where we want them. This is what head coach Tim Beckman had prepared these guys for. He brought up when Cincinnati almost beat Ohio State in 02, when Bowling Green almost did it in 03, and that famous game when Marshall almost did it in 04. And he said, hey, guys, no in-state school has beaten Ohio State since 1921. Let's not be the next team that comes close. Let's be the next team that wins it.
Second possession for the lefty Terrence Owens. Double pass considered, but Page with pressure and good coverage down the field on Reedy. And the Buckeyes stop it before it can get started. Sabino came in for the stop.
Encouraging there for the Ohio State defensive coaches. Dominic Clark, of course, a younger defensive back, doesn't bite on the first pass, stays with his coverage responsibilities. That's why it got shut down, and Page had to tuck the ball down and run it.
Is it dangerous for Toledo to throw too much out too early? I mean, we've seen some very unconventional plays here in the first quarter. Second and long now. Owens over the middle, bobbled and dropped by Reedy.
To answer your question, Tom, I agree with you. I don't feel like they need to continually throw out the trick plays. They've already thrown a couple of wrinkles in there, which has given them the advantage. But now just end up executing your offense. If that's a play that comes, go ahead and take it, but try not to force the issue.
Toledo winning the special teams battle here through 1 quarter of play, and they certainly have the momentum. It's 15-7 Rockets as they look for a historic day in the horseshoe. Toledo leads Ohio State 15-7 in between quarters here at Ohio Stadium. They took some time to honor first responders here in the local area and statewide in advance of tomorrow's anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And Toledo facing a 3rd and long behind quarterback Terrence Owens. The southpaw Owens winds up, fires, long one, and batted away. Great coverage downfield, nearly picked off by Bradley Roby.
And Tom, what I'd like to see right there is the patience by Bradley Roby. Obviously, it took a long time for that ball to get there. He waited until the ball got right to the receiver. That's when he brought the left hand, and nice effort on trying to bring that interception in on the sidelines. We saw the exact same thing last week with Andrew Sweat at a really nice interception, very similar on the sidelines.
Roby may have dragged his feet. Vince Penza to punt it away for Toledo. High snap, And they came after the rugby-style kicker, got it away the opposite way. No return for Chris Fields. Good special teams coverage by Toledo. 15-7, Rockets in front of Ohio State. BTN gives you your football fix every weeknight starting at 7. We bring you all things Big Ten football. Game breakdowns, rising stars, analysis, and much more. Get your football fix on BTN, the home of Big Ten football every night. But Toledo has a winning record on BTN. They're 2-1 with wins against Purdue and in the Big House in 08 against Michigan. And the Rockets have pulled off some big wins in their recent history. Boserman hands off to Rod Smith, and Smith dragged down from behind by Ray Bush, second-year freshman out of Rogers High School in Toledo. Some big-time BCS-level wins for the Rockets, as Corey Philly Brown is injured on the play for Ohio State.
You know, the Ohio State Buckeyes are already thin at receiver. You'd already mentioned DeVere Posey's not going to be back for a few weeks yet, and Philly Brown is one of the guys in that young receiving corps that does have some experience. So this will be a big blow to Ohio State if he can't get in the ballgame. Obviously, visibly looks like he's in pain.
Buckeyes facing a 2nd and 7. And the coaching staff and Jim Bowman talked to us yesterday about the faith that they have in the continuing development of their young wide receivers, including Philly Brown, Verlon Reed, Evan Spencer. And we may need to see more of that development as we continue. It's an 8-point lead for Toledo. We step away for this timeout. Back to Columbus in a moment. Corey Brown has 1 catch for 11 yards today. He'll be helped off the field by the Ohio State training staff, with the Buckeyes trailing by 8.
Yeah, you see Philly Brown right there just trying to get a block, and that's what happens a lot of times when you end up around the pile. Whether you're blocking or not, you'll end up getting somebody rolled up on the back of your legs. Unfortunate for Ohio State, but it creates an opportunity. A guy like Chris Fields, number 80, is going to have to step up.
And they've also moved Jake Stoneburner out wide. Very talented receiver in high school, moved to tight end here at Ohio State. Little option pitch, bobbled by Smith, and he finally corrals it in time to pick up a Buckeye first down.
And Tom, what looked like could have been disastrous. A nice job by Rod Smith, really settling down, focusing and bringing this ball in. Obviously that was behind the line of scrimmage, but he gets his composure back, brings it in, and not only makes a positive play, but he ends up moving the chains.
So 1st and 10, Ohio State, behind a play of Joe Boserman, Bourne and Smith in the backfield as they go back to the power I. Play action. Boserman with 2 wide receivers out there, lets one go incomplete all the way to the first row and up into the stands. Verlon Reed was his intended target.
The crowd here at Ohio Stadium obviously doesn't like that, but I think it's a smart decision. Anytime you get outside the pocket, it doesn't look good for you. You don't have to force it. Obviously you don't want to take a sack. Just throw that one about 2 rows up in the stands and come back on 2nd down.
Slow developing offense for Ohio State after they marched down the field on their opening drive with a nice run pass mix. 2nd and 10 for Boserman. Again, he wants to go to the air. Again, pressured and hit. He finds Stoneburner, who takes it for a first down. Tap dance to pick up more. And he's finally whistled down, and they say he stepped out of bounds after a pickup of 11. It's a unique relationship between Joe Boserman and Jake Stoneburner. They developed great chemistry in the obscurity of the scout team, and it's paying off this season.
And you can see it when these 2 guys get on the field. It's like one of those comfort zones for Boserman. He knows where Stoneburner is going to be on every play, and obviously he has that confidence in him that he's going to catch it as long as he puts it on the spot.
Buckeyes nearing midfield, and short of midfield once again. Christian Smith with the stop. Boserman found Stoneburner time and time again last week against Akron.
Stoneburner set a modern-day record for receiving touchdowns by a tight end. And this didn't surprise me. When I was here in the spring, I really felt that Stoneburner was going to have to be one of those guys that elevated his play and basically played like a wide receiver. We know how young that receiving core was going to be. He's got to be that third or fourth option in the passing game.
2nd and 10. And they go with the sweep. Fields bottled up, and he can't advance. Maybe a gain of a foot. The Toledo defense swarms on him, led by Jaron Elliott.
Got a chance to watch practice here in Columbus on Thursday, and that was one of the plays that I saw him practicing. The actual one that I caught was Devin Smith was the one that was running the end around play. So I think they feel comfortable with all their wide receivers, whoever's in that formation at the given time. But it was definitely a wrinkle that they showed in practice this week.
Jamal Berry now in the backfield for the first time this season. Berry was out with a hamstring injury in week 1. He's seen time on special teams thus far this afternoon. Berry gets out of the backfield, takes a catch from Bauserman, and takes it past midfield and down to the 46-yard line. Another stop by Jaron Elliott, as you see Philly Brown being led into the Ohio State locker room by the training staff and carted off the field. Certainly not good news for Ohio State team that you mentioned, already thin at receiver, including the return of the senior Posey a few weeks away.
I'll tell you what, one thing though is that I did see a lot of development between the spring and the summertime with the wide receivers. There was a lot of drop passes. Guys weren't really running fluid routes back in April. They've definitely come a long way in the past few months.
Ben Buchanan to punt it away. The always dangerous Eric Page asked for a fair catch, and he took it at his 5. Not very often you see Page take a fair catch. It's a 49-yard punt for Ben Buchanan. Toledo back on offense when we return to Ohio Stadium. 8-point lead for Toledo. 11:05 to go in the second quarter from Ohio Stadium. A Toledo team under Tim Beckman, and in their recent history that's not afraid and unable to pull off big wins. At Purdue last year, Colorado the year before in the big house against Michigan, and in 2003 they took down 9th-ranked Pittsburgh in the Glass Bowl. Adonis Thomas in at running back and a flag on the play. Austin Danton had returned at quarterback for the Rockets.
Holding. Offense, number 74. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
Mike Vandermeulen flagged, and the opportunities continue for Toledo in the near future. Tim Beckman has put together a schedule that will include a couple of big games and guys coming to their house, including Miami, Florida, Missouri, and Ohio State. Will all sign 1-1 deals in the near future. Former Toledo coach Gary Pinkel will be back with his squad in a couple of seasons. So Toledo has opportunities, but this is the biggest. Right in front of him, 100,000 strong, breathing down on Danton. And he keeps it on a zone read and stays straight ahead. Let's take it to Dave Rebson in the studio for Discover Card Game Break.
Thanks, Tom. Wisconsin not as overwhelming as against UNLV, but still in good shape against Oregon State. Russell Wilson to Nick Toon there. Wisconsin on top 14-0.
All right, thanks, Dave. They're on their feet here at the Horseshoe as Toledo faces a 3rd and 5. 5 minutes into the second quarter. Danton checked with the sidelines. Now his offensive line. Play clock at 2, 1. Long ball incomplete. Looking for Page past the chain. And that will bring up a punting situation for Toledo.
Good stop there for the Buckeyes defense. You can see that Danton wanted to try to take a shot at Eric Page on the corner. Good defensive coverage right there by Orion Johnson, and no overthrow by Danton.
Vince Penza is out of Cardinal Mooney High School from Canfield, Ohio, and he will punt it away to Chris Fields. Penza rolls. Flag on the play, and a beautiful kick angled out of bounds depending on where they spot it. The flag is back on the 9. And they'll walk it up spotted at the 40. 49-yard punt.
Illegal formation. Offense. 5 men in the backfield. At 5 to the end of the kick. First down. Timeout.
So a 40-yard kick, but 5 yards taken off, and Ohio State will be on offense, trailing Toledo by 8 with 9:42 to go before the half. Officials may have spoken too soon. Ohio State said we want them to punt it again, and so Vince Penza from the end zone, and nearly blocked. He rolled right into the pressure and got off a screaming line drive. Nate Oliver, fifth-year senior from St. Edward in Cleveland, almost got to that one.
Well, that didn't surprise me one bit, because they got great field position after that first punt by Penza. But if you're Ohio State, let's see if he can do that twice in a row. And obviously you're seeing that wasn't the case. Big change of field position right there as Ohio State gets this ball in Toledo territory.
And only a 36-yard punt that time from Penza. 1st and 10, Ohio State, and Bosman back out at quarterback. We expect to see Braxton Miller sometime in the first half, but time is running out. Here's a toss to Hyde, and Hyde stopped behind the line of scrimmage. It will be a loss of a couple that time. Jermaine Robinson coming up from his safety spot. You mentioned that you'd like to see Miller in the game at this point.
I think this would have been a good time to get him in the ball game. The coaches mentioned that they would like to get him in a little bit earlier in the first half potentially, and you see that Ohio State had been struggling a little bit. I thought this would have been a good opportunity to get Miller back in the ball game.
Second and 12. Bosman dumps it to Hyde. Hyde makes a first man miss, took a glancing blow and takes it down to the 36.5, a gain of 6. Elijah Jones, a sophomore from Indianapolis, finally brought him down.
As an offensive staff, whenever you get stopped or lose yards on first down, your goal on second down is you basically want to cut the yardage in half. If it's 2nd and 12, you'd like to have a 3rd and 6 or less opportunity. So successful play call right there. Now a manageable 3rd down here for the Buckeyes.
And Jamal Berry enters the game, a tailback. Two-back set with Hyde, 3rd and 4. Hyde left side, slices his way to a first down and more. Touchdown, Ohio State. A 36-yard run for Carlos Hyde. And Drew Basil to attempt the extra point to make it a 1-point game. (15-14). Toledo with the lead, but Ohio State with a quick strike to come back. The Buick Human Highlight Reel celebrates former NCAA athletes doing great things in their community. Let's take a look at one of those stories now.
The great Nnamdi Asomugha.
Nnamdi liked to play.
Nnamdi Asomugha, Philadelphia Eagles, UC Berkeley grad.
I knew early on that this guy was a visionary.
Committed, dedicated, and so humble.
His heart is big as the United States.
There is something else out there that could end up changing your life.
Because of the impact that Nnamdi's made in their lives, they've changed everything for generations to come.
To see Nnamdi's story and the entire Buick Human Highlight Reel, go to ncaa.com/Buick.
Now at Best.
15-14, Toledo with the lead. First rushing touchdown in the career of Carlos Hyde.
Two guys I want you to watch, Mike Brewster right here and Jack Muhart. Both of those guys end up getting great blocks. Brewster loses a little bit of ground, but you see Muhart right at the end just gets a piece of the defender, allows that hole to open up, and Carlos Hyde does the rest getting into the end zone.
Replay, 42-yard drive, 1:34 off the clock after the short punt from Toledo set him up. And Hyde took it in from 36. Basil And Page from the 1. Page, great vision. Here he goes to the sideline, and a great hurdle to take it out past the 40. 41-yard return for Eric Page. And Toledo comes right back at it. It's a Toledo team which has struggled defensively, but when the ball is in Eric Page's hands, they can do seemingly anything.
Well, Ohio State had a little bit of problem last week with kickoff coverage, and you're seeing it again. Number 1, number 2, Eric Page is just a special returner, a guy that brought back 3 for touchdowns last year, and as we mentioned, was a Walter Camp first-team All-American returner.
He led the nation with 3 touchdowns, and he was 4th with 32 yards of return. First-team All-America as a return man. Eric Page, he's already caught 2 touchdown passes today and thrown a 2-point conversion. Here's David Fluellen. Nope, zone read and kept by the quarterback, but no dice. John Simon finds him for a loss in the backfield. 2nd and 11 now.
John Simon, one of the veterans up front on that defensive line for Ohio State. Nice job of all the defensive front staying home, staying in their gaps that they're responsible for in the defense, able to make a play in the backfield.
It is a multiple Toledo offense. Austin Danton at quarterback now. We've seen a lot of spread and some zone read, and they'll also get big, according to the Ohio State coaches, and keep you on your toes. Danton trying to dump it to Fluellen. And now 3rd and 11 coming up, and Ohio State trying to seize momentum midway through the 2nd quarter.
And good coverage downfield. All the linebackers and secondary sticking right on their man. It's the reason why when Danton was looking downfield, didn't have any good options, had to take the check down, and it was off target.
Third and 11. Ohio State brings 4. They get to Danton with 4 and drop him for a loss. Jonathan Hankins found him in the backfield. 6 yards the wrong way for Toledo.
Jonathan Hankins, one of those guys they expected big things out of this year. 6'3", 335 pounds. He is a load inside. But what surprised me the most was his footwork, his quickness for a guy of that size. I expect to see a lot more plays like that this season out of Big Hankins.
Penza was pressured last time, punting from his own end zone. It's not a full rugby style punt, but he's shown a little bit of a roll to the right. Chris Fields is set to return for the Buckeyes. Play clock at 1. They're not going to get this one off, or did they? Just barely. And a line drive spiral again finds that Toledo sideline. They'll walk it off to the 20. And let's go back down to the field and check in with Lisa Byington.
Yeah, Tom, I just want to give you a quick update on sophomore wide receiver Corey Brown. No official update on the training staff on his immediate future, but I just want to tell you that when I was observing him on the sideline, the training staff was kind of putting pressure points on the mid to the high point of his left ankle. He literally could not put his foot down. Two staff members from the training staff had to actually lift him up and put him on that cart. Also, coming off that Carlos Hyde touchdown, I was watching Dick Tressel. He came up to Hyde and said, you know what? You didn't lift your upper body up. You kept your center of gravity low, and that's why you were able to break free. Great job, kid.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Bosman has to throw it away, pressured from Riley. So Philly Brown was taken to the locker room with that leg injury. And now Ohio State faces a 2nd and 10. And, you know, power running game for Ohio State, yet they put Joe Bosman in position to throw the ball early in downs a time or two.
Well, they feel comfortable, and obviously he showed on the field last week that he was able to do that, making a lot of plays in the passing game. You see right here a combination of the little sugar huddle with the offensive line and the wide receivers looking at their wristbands. Everybody on the same page with the play coming in from the sidelines.
Bosman 8 of 14 for 86 yards and 1 touchdown so far. Here's a toss to Hyde and a touchdown of 36 yards. Last drive for Ohio State, and the Rockets stand him up and stop him. Robinson, the strong safety, and with the stop. No gain, 3rd and long, and the Buckeyes, unless they convert, will give it right back with 5:50 and counting.
Well, we talked about a little earlier, Toledo, and Lisa had mentioned it, that Toledo's almost got Ohio State right where they want them. Got a 1-point lead right now, getting close to halftime. They're playing really good football. They're getting some stops on defense. If you're Toledo, you got to be very happy with your performance through this first half.
Hyde and Holman flank Boserman. 3rd and 9. Boserman pressured, got it away, incomplete, wouldn't have been for a first down anyway. And again, Boserman popped. TJ Fatinican, junior from Perrysburg, Ohio, got to him. He was a 3rd-team All-MAC performer last year.
Starting to see Boserman struggle a little bit in the passing game. It looked like Chris Fields, number 80, was wide open on a comeback coming back towards Boserman. Obviously, his eyes weren't in that direction. But to your point, Tom, now we're back into a 4th down situation, and the Rockets will get the ball again, seeing if they can't drive that ball down the field.
And we have yet to see Braxton Miller in the game for the Buckeyes. Ohio State 0 for 5 on 3rd down attempts. And a good-looking punt. Here's Page, who takes it in front of his teammate Reedy, and he reverses direction not once but twice, and out towards the 43, past the 43-yard line. Today's Alumni Spotlight, brought to you by Case IH, features the big man Orlando Pace of Ohio State. Pace won the Outland Trophy in '96, Lombardi awarded both '95 and '96, and went to the Rams with the first pick in the draft, where he spent 12 seasons, including with the Bears in '09, a Super Bowl champion in 1999. 6-time All-NFC, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowl. What else can you say about Orlando Pace?
Man, I played against him when I was in college at Minnesota, played against him again in the NFL, and in my opinion was probably one of the best, if not the best, left tackle I ever saw in my years playing football.
Terrence Owens is in at quarterback now for Toledo, and they set up the screen from the lefty. This is Adonis Thomas, and he has a 1st down carry for the Rockets after the catch and run, a pickup of 11. We were in the Ohio State football offices yesterday and had a chance to check out some of those trophies, including the Lombardi, and it is simple. It is just like what Orlando Pace was for many years, just a block of granite.
It was a nice piece of granite, and I tell a lot of people I've got granite in my kitchen, but I don't have that type of granite.
You don't have any in your trophy room. Eric Page with the reception. Again, Toledo going on the short dump passes for positive yardage. Page stepped out of bounds after a pickup of 5. 2nd and 5 now. Toledo no huddle, trying to hurry things up. 4:43 and counting before the half, as they look to hold on to a 1-point lead. Over the middle, intercepted, picked off by Storm Klein, and Ohio State has possession back to the 44. He's been a quick study at middle linebacker, and he takes over and takes the ball away from Toledo. First Ohio State turnover.
Excellent play there by Storm Klein. You're going to see him right to the right side of your screen. Drops back into coverage. He's reading Terrence Owens' eyes. Gets his hands on the football. And a lot of times you'll see linebackers, when that ball comes right to them, they're not used to catching the football. Catches that ball with his hands, gets up the field, and creates another possession for his offense.
Buckeyes are plus 48 in turnover margin over the last 3 years. That's the best mark in the nation. And Klein with the pick sets up Ohio State. It was Toledo's first turnover of the year. They were plus 5 last week. Boserman, deep ball, Reed, incomplete. Flag on the play. Page and Robinson were down there to converge on Verlon Reed, and Ohio State's going to mark off some yardage. They'll go against the Rockets.
Pass interference, defense, number 2, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
You could just almost see that one coming. Jim Bowman takes a shot on 1st down after the turnover, wants to try to see if they can't get a big play early on in the drive. Didn't get the completion, but at least they got the pass interference penalty, which brings this ball into Toledo territory.
They flagged Page. Robinson may have been just as guilty. 1st and 10. Boserman play action. Deep ball again, wide open, and he overthrew Devin Smith. And Boserman wants to have that one back.
He'd love to have that one back. He looked down the field, and Devin Smith was wide open, and sometimes that's the most difficult throw for a quarterback when you see your wide receivers got all but green grass in front of them, and you can see the former Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher puts a little bit too much steam on that one.
Bosherman was a 4th-round pick of the Pirates in 2004. Finished his career with the Hickory Crawdads in the Sally League. And was Terrell Pryor's backup for the last 2 seasons here at Ohio State.
False start, offense, number 76, 5-yard penalty. It remains 2nd down.
Played with a couple of current Pirates, including Andrew McCutcheon, as J.B. Sugarts jumps. Jake Stoneburner in the game for Ohio State. He's the inside receiver right on the O. Bosherman has time, and he goes underneath the Hyde. Hyde folded over at the 39-yard line after a pickup of 6. 3rd and 9 forthcoming for Ohio State. The stop by Charles Ransiford.
See Jim Bowman dialing up the screen play. Ohio State hasn't been always known to be the biggest screen team, especially when Terrell Pryor was under center. But it's definitely one of those plays you need to factor into the game plan, especially when you get an aggressive defensive front, always rushing upfield, throwing a screen every once in a while, get those guys upfield and slide in right behind them.
Again to Hyde out of the backfield, and at the 40 leaps his way down to the 34-yard line. So 4th and medium coming up for Ohio State. What would you do here?
Well, I think they're going to go for it. And when you look at that last drive when they had 3rd and 6 and Carlos Hyde ran that ball in for a touchdown, I believe that Luke Fickell got on the headset and he told his offensive coordinator, we're in 4-down territory right now. That's the reason why you saw that run on 3rd down. And again, I believe that's what happened. He was telling them it's 4-down territory, going for it on 4th down.
4th and 3. Bosherman to throw. Underneath and off of the hands of Jake Stoneburner. Had a 1st down and then some just waiting for him, and that doesn't happen very often.
Well, that was shaping up to be another really big play. All kinds of green grass in front of Stoneburner. We actually saw Reed Fragel drop a pass at the tight end position last week. Wasn't very many drops at all, and this is very uncharacteristic for Jake Stoneburner. You see right in front of him there was all kinds of green grass, and I think he was thinking about that before he brought that football in.
So the Buckeyes have struggled a little bit on 3rd down today, and now they turn it over on downs. And Austin Danton, the starting quarterback, in for another series for Toledo. Terrence Owens did a fine job, the lefty, when he spelled Danton late in the 1st quarter. Danton, pressure, slips away. He's got green grass in front of him. And Danton lowers his head and picks up 9 yards. Orion Johnson came up from his safety spot for the stop. Adam Bellamy was one of the guys who brought pressure on Danton.
We were talking to Jim Haycock yesterday, the defensive coordinator. He mentioned we want to get pressure, whether that's 3 or 4. They got that out of the defensive front, but couldn't make the play in the open field.
That was a hot shot pass to Page, who quickly caught it but had nowhere to go. Adrian Sabino with the stop for Ohio State. Sabino's got that left hand taped up pretty well. He's added strength and bulk after a redshirt season, and he's had to deal with a broken hand as of late.
A guy that decided to take a red shirt knowing that there was so many big-time linebackers for Ohio State. Felt like he had the best chance of seeing playing time if he sat out last year and competed for a starting role this year.
How hungry was he to see the field? As, quote, I'm starving. And Sabino with the big play there. Play clock at 5. Oh, Toledo moved. It was the left tackle, Mike Vandermeulen, who will be flagged for the 2nd time today. He's making his 39th straight start at left tackle.
False start, offense, number 74, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Vandermeulen is a big-time talent, 6'7", 304 out of Marshall, Michigan.
Starting to see a couple things factor in. Obviously, the crowd noise here at the Horseshoe And number 2, the respect given for John Simon. Vandermeulen, knowing that John Simon is an excellent pass rusher, feeling like he's got to get a little head start to get in good position to block him.
Simon walking around a little bit on that Ohio State defensive line. 3rd and 9. Danton checks. 5 on the play clock. Pressure. Got him! And Danton goes down on 3rd. Garrett Goebel busts through the line to take down the Toledo quarterback.
Again, going back to what I was talking about, the pressure that they get up front. I was originally asking Coach Haycock on whether or not they were going to be bringing blitzes. You see Sabino, what we call a hug rush right there. As soon as he sees the running back block, he's going to come in. But Garrett Goebel does an excellent job beating the offensive lineman and getting the sack.
1:11 to go before the break here at Ohio Stadium. And the Buckeyes playing big on D. (15-14), Toledo with the lead on Ohio State. And his high-powered Rocket offense has to punt it away, facing 4th and long. They've taken some chances in the first half, and now they run the risk of losing all the momentum that Toledo got that started with a blocked punt that led to a touchdown. They move the formation to punt it away straight this time, and a flag was on the play. Maybe another illegal formation against the Rockets. But we're seeing, as the punt rolls to a stop at about the 17, a special teams adjustment. Ohio State brought pressure from that right side of the punter, where he likes to roll to be comfortable.
Well, Toledo saw that they were getting a little bit too close for comfort on the last punt you mentioned was nearly blocked by Ohio State.
Illegal formation. Kicking team number 9 lined up in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 4th down.
And again, Coach Fickell's going to have the Rockets re-kick. They got a great bounce on that last play. But to your point, started to go with a more straight up the field because they saw the pressure that was coming in by the Buckeyes.
So if you're Vince Penza and your coaches are making adjustments here mid-game as to how you kick it away, how can you get your punter in a better comfort zone knowing pressure's coming from that strong side?
I'm not really sure there's a way, Tom, because I've been around a lot of punters and kickers in my career, and they can be somewhat of head cases. But at the end of the day, you got to be an athlete. You got to adjust just like the rest of the players on the field.
He got it away quickly. It was a low line drive, fielded at the 31 by Fields. Fields broke a tackle, past midfield to the 40, to the 30, a huge block, and here he goes! Chris Fields, 69-yard return and a tip of the cap to Ryan Shazer, who absolutely laid out a rocket on that return. And Basil for the extra point. Ohio State grabs momentum around the throat with that 69-yard punt return, and it all started with the pressure on that side because he had to get off a line drive.
He got the line drive, and the problem on this punt was that there was absolutely no hang time. You're going to see this line drive, and when Chris Fields catches this ball, look how far it is before there's any Rocket able to come make a play. He's got a full head of steam coming upfield, and when you get a talented wide receiver slash punt returner, all that space, he's going to make a play in the open field.
How about Shazer?
I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. Look at that knockout block right there. Guys that are on the punt return team, they drool for opportunities where they can get a crackback block is what we call it.
Chris Fields, redshirt sophomore out of Painesville, Ohio, with a punt return score with just 46 seconds left on the first half clock.
Exactly what the Buckeyes needed at this point in the ball game. Needed to get everybody excited, the players, the fans, because they lost a little bit of that momentum. And sometimes that's all you need is a play in special teams, a turnover, something to get everybody energized again. A lot of credit to Chris Fields making that play right before halftime.
That'll erase some of the sting of some special teams miscues thus far for Ohio State on this afternoon. It included a punt block by Toledo that set up the Rockets' first score, and Toledo, playing aggressive, went for two and took the lead.
And regardless of the result today, I'm sure Luke Fickell and his staff will be spending a lot of time on special teams when they get into practice next week. Definitely things to work on for the Buckeyes.
Luke Fickell uses a timeout here with the play clock winding down. Stay tuned for the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report with scores and highlights from all of today's games. And a triple header on BTN today, capped with Pat Hill and Fresno State heading to Lincoln to take on the Cornhuskers. So 6-point lead for Ohio State. And you kind of feel for Toledo that all the air has been let out of the balloon. It'd be nice for the Rockets to finish with something big in the first half, even if it's not a score, to get in the locker room with a positive mindset.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tom, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think right now you get the ball, you go down on a knee, you get into halftime and regroup, understanding that they've got guys on their team that can make plays, but you don't want to compound anything. We just saw Ohio State make a big play. If you come out and try to take a shot downfield and throw another interception, now you're going to put this game out of hand.
Eric Page to return for Toledo, one of the best returners in the nation. And they're going to send a little flare out. It's taken by the Rockets at the 24. And a safety move to try and keep it out of Page's hands. It was David Fluellen who returned it out near the 30, a 7-yard return. So the Buckeyes in a comfort zone now, leading by 6 with under a minute to go before the half. Toledo has gone backwards over their last 5 drives. 4 punts and a pick. And that pick by Storm Klein on the last possession set up Ohio State.
It's more like what the Ohio State Buckeyes are used to on defense, holding Akron to just 90 total yards just a week ago.
Toledo puts it on the ground on first down, and they rip off a 9-yard run on the legs of David Fluellen. 33 seconds and counting. Toledo has all 3 timeouts. They're in a hurry up. Won't stop the clock yet. Llewellyn again, and this time he takes it for a first down, but there is a flag.
Holding offense number 67, 10-yard penalty, still second down.
9 penalties, 80 yards against Toledo here in the first half.
Well, you can see the conservative play calling by Matt Campbell, the offensive coordinator for Toledo, and I'm sure Coach Tim Beckman is saying, just run the ball a couple times. I don't want anything to get out of hand here right before the half. So they didn't take a knee, but they're definitely going with the conservative play call, ready to go in and regroup at halftime.
Ohio State has 1 timeout remaining. 2nd and 11 for Danton, and he's going to let that game clock go all the way down as long as he can. In fact, he will not take the snap, and that's how the first half will end. Ohio State answered first. They bookend a strong half after a Toledo surge in the middle of the first quarter through the second. And the Buckeyes hit the locker room with a 21-15 edge. Stay tuned. The Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report from Chicago is coming your way right after this. Buckeyes 21, Toledo 15 from Ohio Stadium.
Like a rush of adrenaline, I can't stop. Hold on, 'cause here we go on, coming strong, but not for long. Talking trash, moving fast, yeah, you feel good. Making waves, taking names, yeah, it's understood. But now
69-yard punt return got momentum in Ohio State's corner. 21-15 is the Buckeyes lead. Big Ten Network football is being presented by the United States Marine Corps, and moments ago Arlisa Byington was able to catch up with Ohio State head coach Luke Fickell.
Coach, what did you see out of your team when you were down 15-7? What turned?
You know, we're just going to continue to battle. We're a young group. We're, you know, leadership is emerging, and we're going to continue to see what kind of leadership emerges here in the second half.
How do you feel that Joe Bousman is managing the offense here in the first half?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, they've done a good job. I mean, you know, he's taken some sacks. He's thrown the ball away. He's done what we've asked him to do. You know, we'll wait till the evaluation until the game's over.
Will we see Braxton in the second half?
Well, hey, whatever we have to do, we'll do.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Lisa. And what they have to do right now is, granted, they got the big punt return for a touchdown, but still try to find some consistency out of the offense. Bousman has thrown for 98 yards, but remember, he got off to a really hot start in that opening drive. Hyde has 74 yards on the ground, and Stoneburner 39 yards in the touchdown, but he had one key drop on a third down. Now, Braxton Miller was expected to see some time in the first half, according to the coaches when we talked to them yesterday. He has not and wasn't warming up a moment ago. At this stage in a 6-point game, where does Braxton Miller fit into the game plan in the second half?
You know, I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been into the ball game yet, because if they're going to play him, to me that means they've got to feel comfortable with him in most every situation. If you're going to play a true freshman quarterback, you're thinking that he could potentially be the future of this program. So are you going to baby him and say that, well, if we get backed up, he can't come in that situation? No, that's not the case. If he's going to be the quarterback of the future, you've got to give him experience in a number of different situations. So, yes, I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been in the ballgame to this point.
Toledo, remember, won the toss. They deferred, so even though they didn't attempt big plays at the end of the half, they are getting the ball back to start the second, and they'll keep it out of Page's hands with a slow ground ball. He picks it up at about the 18. He's got room, and Eric Page turns a corner on the sideline out to the 40-yard line. A 23-yard return, and he is forced out of bounds by Orion Johnson. All right, so Toledo seems to have given up momentum, but this is still a high-powered offense. It can put points on the board. So what do you expect out of them to start the second half?
I expect them to go back to what they've been doing throughout the ballgame. You're seeing Eric Page, game breaker. He's already brought the team out to the 40-yard line. They're starting with really good field position. And again, I think they'll do the alternating between Austin Danton and Terrence Owens at the quarterback position. You're seeing Austin Danton starting here in the second half.
Toledo has gone 8 straight games with 30 points or more. That is the longest active FBS streak in the nation. Better than teams like Oklahoma State, San Diego State. Swing pass out to Adonis Thomas. Cutback is good. The first down is good. He might go. Adonis Thomas to the 20 and finally forced out of bounds, and a flag at the end. A 42-yard catch and run from Danton to Thomas.
Not the way the Buckeyes were looking to get this second half started. Saw a couple of missed tackles there by the OSU defense and allowed the big play to occur.
Officials talking it over after that flag. And Adonis Thomas, a senior from Newark, New Jersey, one of 51 running backs in the nation on the Doak Walker watch list as the best running back in the nation. He said, I want to be considered among the best. I want to be mentioned with LaMichael James and Trent Richardson and the other guys in my class. When Toledo beat Purdue last year.
We have 2 fouls on the play. Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 4. Half the distance to the goal line. Delay of game, sideline interference, Toledo. 5-yard penalty from where the ball is left. First down, Toledo.
So a little too much excitement on the Toledo sideline. Here's the tail end after this big 42-yard gain by Adonis Thomas.
Well, again, you talked about the fact that Thomas wanted to be mentioned with some of the other bigger names, and there's the face mask right at the end of the play. You continue to make plays like this, and you'll get mentioned along some of those names like LaMichael James.
He led the MAC in all-purpose yardage with nearly 1,300 yards last year. It was a second-team All-MAC running back, even though he outgained the first-team guy by almost 500 yards. First and 10, Toledo, 5 wide. Danton keeps it, and he takes it straight ahead down the hash marks to set up second and medium. Adam Bellamy with the stop for Ohio State.
And coming into the ball game, we knew that Austin Danton was the dual threat type guy, a guy that will definitely pull it down and run. Haven't actually seen a whole lot of that throughout this ball game. Starting to see a little bit more of it. They'll try to run a little zone read, see if they can't isolate a defensive end between himself and the running back, or wide receivers coming across in motion.
Danton averaged 7 yards a carry last week in their win against FCS ranked number 10 New Hampshire. As a Thursday night victory, they've had a couple of extra days to prepare for the Buckeyes. Danton pump fake, end zone, nearly intercepted. Orion Johnson with the coverage in the end zone. He's the only returning starter in the secondary for the Buckeyes. They rebuilt secondary, and one of the officials has now gone down. Rick Nelson will be helped to his feet. The Buckeyes in their heat last week at the Horseshoe lost 2 officials in their game against Akron to heat. I mean, 2 officials went down, numerous fans, and a host of band members, according to reports.
What's even more interesting, Tom, is that there wasn't very many players that went down. I mean, I think that's a credit to the coaching staff, the shape that they had these guys in. All those pads, all the heat, had very few heat-related injuries for the Buckeyes. You can see right there, Page coming across the formation. That's where he ran into Rick Nelson. Another good shot of it coming across, and right at the end of this play, you can see the near interception right there by Orion Johnson.
Page may have been the intended receiver in that route for Danton, but picked off by the umpire. So that brings up a 3rd and 4 for Toledo. They go 5 wide again. Page, the inside receiver, at the top of the formation. They can pick up a first down without a touchdown. Plenty of room here for the Rockets to operate. Thomas in motion. Zone read again. Thomas has it, and he gets inside the 5. And it'll depend on the spot. He needed to get just inside the 4 for a first down. If they are facing a 4th and 1, would you go for it? They went for 2 in the first half.
Yeah, obviously they've shown to throw some wrinkles in there, but you know, I'm a little bit more conservative when it comes down to this part of the territory. I would probably go ahead and take the points and cut this down to a 3-point ball game.
It's 4th and less than 1, and the offense is staying in. They brought in some big guys to help out, including Joel Myers, a 280-pound freshman on the left side. Danton's going to split out wide. It's Thomas operating out of the Wildcat. Thomas, straight ahead run, first down, touchdown Toledo. A 4th and 1 conversion, and the senior from New Jersey, Adonis Thomas, takes it in himself.
You can see how much Coach Tim Beckman, how much confidence he has in his offense. 4th down, they bring out a new play that we haven't seen throughout the entire ball game, a Wildcat formation, and they get in for the touchdown.
And now they show that they're going to go for 2 again. Remember, they have the kicker split out wide. That is Casano. And they will go back into the regular field goal formation. You got to stay on your toes with these guys. To give Toledo another lead here at the Horseshoe. And Casano just barely punches it through. Thomas set it up with a 42-yard catch and run, and then took it himself the rest of the way.
Toledo goes with a little bit of wrinkle, as we mentioned, put Adonis in the Wildcat formation, gets into the end zone for the touchdown. (22-21). Toledo leads 15th ranked Ohio State after a 5-play 60-yard scoring drive in which Adonis Thomas accounted for 49 of the 60 yards, including the final 4 on a 4th and 1 conversion. Barry is deep to return, along with Chris Fields for Ohio State. So Toledo back in front. And the Buckeyes will put their offense on the field for the first time in the second half. Jeremiah Detmer puts it in the air. And Barry backed up. And he's going to bring it out 3 yards deep. Here is Barry. And he is popped at the 17-yard line. Let's take you down on the field where Lisa Byington's standing by with a couple of big-time Buckeyes.
Big and small and different sizes, huh? Mike Doss, Orlando Pace, both go into the Hall of Fame here today. Congratulations. First of all, Mike, What was it like when you got that call and you found out?
Man, I was elated. I was totally humbled and floored. You know, it was surprising to be so young to get it elected to the Hall of Fame this early, but it's truly a blessing and an honor, and it's a tribute to all my coaches and my teammates that helped me develop my game over the years.
And Orlando, you should know that Mike said that you were a first ballot choice like 8 years ago.
Yeah, they had to wait for me to get done playing in the NFL, and once I retired, I was fortunate enough to be inducted into the Ohio State Hall of Fame.
Mike, you were coached by Luke Fickell here as a special teams guy in 2002. Tell me why you think that this will work with him in charge here.
Well, I think he connects to the players very well. He's young, he's played the game, and he knows what it's like to be out there on the field, and these guys can relate to that. And I think he's a great recruiter. You know, I think he was the closer for a lot of our big recruits. That's kind of one of the unknown things here, but Luke is a great guy, and I just hope the best for him in his career.
And Orlando, real quick, you got to play with him. So what was it like to have a Fickell and a Mike Vrabel on the same team?
And, you know, both of those guys were characters when they're younger, but now they're coaches. You have to respect that. And I think they'll do a great job.
All right, congratulations again, guys. I didn't even need a stepladder for that, Tom.
Great job, Lisa, and great to hear from both of those guys. Mike Doss, 3-time All-American strong safety, wrapped up his career after coming back for his senior year in 2002. So Luke Fickell, who was in charge with that Silver Bullets defense in practice of trying to get around Orlando Pace, now has his offense facing a third and short. Third and a short 2. Orlando Pace could clear some room on this third down, you would think. Hyde straight away, hit behind the line, and it was Jermaine Robinson, who Rack is having a big game from his safety spot.
Well, there's one of the assets for Ohio State right there. When you get to a third and short situation, you got a guy like Carlos Hyde that's 6 foot, 240 pounds. However, he comes up a little bit short. Again, we're seeing that fight out of the Toledo defense right now. Again, right before the end of the half, Ohio State brings the punt back for a touchdown. They respond with a touchdown on their first drive and get a stop on the Buckeyes offense.
So 3 and out as Ben Buchanan is back on the field for Ohio State. Eric Page to return. Buchanan has averaged 40 yards a punt here this afternoon. Fourth-year junior out of Westerville, Ohio. Page asks for a fair catch with 2 Buckeyes in front of him, and he takes it at the 32. So that high-powered Toledo offense will be back at it, leading by 1. We got a game in the horseshoe. Back in Columbus, and game number 2 of the season for Ohio State, and getting a stern test from Toledo. It's a 22-21 Rockets lead on the Buckeyes. Ohio State down another defensive lineman. John Simon just left the game on a cart back to the Buckeye locker room. Here's Adonis Thomas, another little screen pass for their running back, who takes it past midfield and down to the 47. So the strength up front in question now for Ohio State. Nathan Williams not expected to play. We haven't seen him on the field after a leg injury in practice, and now John Simon has left and gone off on a cart. What can Ohio State do up front? They plan to go 8 deep.
Yeah, they're going to have to go a lot more basic, because they're going to be playing a true freshman in Bellamy, a redshirt freshman in Moore. They got a lot of young guys up front, so you can't throw too much at them, especially at a critical point in the ball game.
First career start for JT Moore today in place of Williams, and Adam Bellamy next to him on the left side of that line. Hit in the backfield, and down goes Fluellen. And so they turn to the linebacker, Andrew Sweat, who fills in and fills it up.
Well, you mentioned fill in. That's what's going to happen from this linebacking core. They're going to have to fill in and make some plays defensively as they get a little short-handed on the defensive front. As we talked about earlier in the game, Andrew Sweat was the guy that was the 3rd starter at that linebacker position last year, and they're expecting him to step up and be one of the leaders on this defense.
A couple of years ago, he had an interception and a pair of tackles against Toledo. And a loss of 2, 2nd and 12 for the Rockets. Austin Danton has seen more series than his backup Terrence Owens. They plan to play 2 QBs throughout the day today. Danton over the middle and incomplete. Coverage downfield by Dominic Clark for the Buckeyes. Cordell Scott, the Illinois transfer, was the intended receiver.
When you mentioned Dominic Clark, he's a guy that's getting the start because Travis Howard's not available. Travis Howard really is one of the guys they think can be a shutdown corner here in Columbus. But Clark had a really good game last week against Akron, couple of pass breakups, and has been covering really nicely this afternoon as well.
5 wide. They've run the zone read out of this formation a time or two, but now they face 3rd and 12. Thomas, the slot, now he'll come in motion. Danton goes to him. They look for a little screen. He makes a man miss after a great block early, and he takes it down near the first down to the 37. C.J. Barnett with the stop. And we'll see where the spot has Toledo, either a 4th and short or a fresh set.
You'll see Tyler Moeller almost makes the tackle right there. He's the veteran senior that plays that star position right there. Unfortunately can't make the play, but Toledo still comes up a little bit short.
They got about a half of football to go for a first down. Remember, they converted 4th and less than 1 for a touchdown on their last possession. Thomas in a wildcat formation. Danton, the quarterback, split out. Here's Thomas straight ahead, same play as the touchdown, and he gets the first down and down almost to the 30-yard line. Pickup of 7 that time for Adonis Thomas. All right, regardless of what the scouting report has said, now Ohio State has seen that formation a time or two. Let's see when they make their adjustment.
Well, they got to come with an answer for it. Obviously, we've seen twice now in the last 2 series they've had successful plays on it. And Matt Campbell, the offensive coordinator for Toledo, is going to continue to dial that up until this Buckeyes defense slows it down.
David Fluellen is in at running back for Toledo. Danton, pump fake, goes to Reedy, deep to the corner and knocked away, swatted by C.J. Barnett. A well drawn up play as they fake the screen to their star Page and instead try to stretch it to Reedy.
I talked about it earlier in the game. They'll use Page in a lot of situations as a decoy, get people to react to him. But a nice play by C.J. Barnett on the back end right here. Locates the football and goes back and makes a play. So many times you see defensive backs staring at the receiver and they never look back to find the football to make a play on it.
Ohio State has stayed true in their coverage in the secondary, and a couple of would-be trick plays for Toledo. Play flake to Fluellen. Here's Page now on the quick hit. And Eric Page has another grab. Storm Klein with the stop.
Been a little bit quiet when it comes to Eric Page the last couple of offensive drives. So you'd like to think that Austin Danton's going to find some ways to get the ball in his hands. We've already seen in the first half what Eric Page is able to do when he gets some green grass in front of him.
8th catch of the game for Page. This is the 8th play of the drive for Toledo. Thomas back at running back. 4 wide. 3rd down, Toledo. Danton swallowed and a flag on the play. It's a loss of 4 if it stands. Jonathan Hankins was the man who got to him.
Holding, offense, number 78. 10-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
Toledo going the wrong direction here. You're going to see the holding right by the right guard on Jonathan Hankins right there. You can see him grab with his right hand and basically just pull him down to the ground. Good rush right there by Jonathan Hankins.
Buckeyes took the penalty. They'll give Toledo another shot at 3rd down, but now it's a 3rd and 14. Same play, quarterback draw, and same result. To break it up was Sweat, and Danton ran into his own man as center, Zach Karen. So 4th and long now.
Still might be a young defense for Ohio State, but one thing that you can bank on is they're still going to have athleticism and speed, and that's what we've seen out of both Andrew Sweat and Storm Klein, making some plays running laterally east and west.
Ryan Cassano was 0 for 5 from past 40 last year. His career long is 38, and he's playing on a surgically repaired right knee. Tore his ACL A 51-yard attempt to extend the lead. Bad hold, and Toledo has to rush out of it. Bill Kloss thrown for a loss, and Ohio State will have great field position. Dominic Clark in to clean it up. It's a loss of 12. Bradley Roby found his way into the backfield also for Ohio State. Snap looked good. The hold was not. And Ohio State on offense when we return. Ohio State special teams come up with a big play after Toledo muffs the snap, and the Buckeyes have possession near the 45. Toledo with the lead, and the last time Ohio State lost to an in-state opponent was 1921 when Oberlin came away with a 7-6 victory. Boserman complete to Hyde out of the backfield, and Hyde gets popped after a gain of nearly 8. 2nd and 2 coming up, a long 2 for Ohio State. Terrell Anderson and Charles Rancifer with the stop for Toledo. So we haven't seen any Braxton Miller at this point. Do you expect to see Miller until Ohio State opens up the lead?
I think that's probably what it's working out to be now, Tom. I mean, they've gone with Boserman every single drive, probably feeling more comfortable with him in a tight ball game, especially in the passing game, to make the right decisions with the football and not turn it over.
Turning to the running game now, and Hyde picks up the first down for Ohio State. DeAndre Morrow, senior out of St. Edward in Cleveland, with the stop.
And I think what you're seeing throughout this ball game and last week as well is that Ohio State is still in pretty good position when you talk about the running backs. Carlos Hyde looks like he's been a starter. He's a guy that's very comfortable. You see him in both the running game and catching passes out of the backfield. He's able to make plays and help him move down the football field.
2 tight ends set, Stoneburner and Fragel. On 1st and 10, play action. Boserman lets it go to the sideline. Devin Smith, the intended receiver. So a couple of times now, Boserman has been flushed from the pocket. And as his offensive coordinator, Jim Bowman, told him after the game last week, he played wise against Akron. Wise to not take chances against Toledo here, trailing by 1.
Well, I didn't really think that was a wise decision. When I've been in offense, and I've always been taught on these bootleg type plays, is you always look short to long. And Reed Fragel came out in the flat. He was wide open. He should have got his head around and just delivered it right into his shoulder pads, let him turn and get up the field.
Injured player for Toledo, already without their starting Mike linebacker. Now their weak side linebacker, Robert Bell, is a bit shaken up. Toledo with the lead against Ohio State, and they're playing without Dan Moles, who's expected to return perhaps for the Temple game. Tuesday, Moles had issues after practice with his lower leg. He has a stress fracture. He's in a walking boot, so Terrell Anderson takes his spot at middle linebacker, and now Robert Bell, the starter at weak side, will hit the Toledo sideline. So both teams dealing with injury issues and leaning on their depth here in the 3rd quarter. 4:50 to go. Toledo by 1. Hyde and Bourne in the backfield. Again, they want to throw on 2nd and 10. Boserman, time in the pocket, lets it go, and he finds his man, complete for a first down. Devin Smith inside the 10. One of those great freshman receivers, and he's finally tackled by Deontay Morrow. 36 yards on the completion to Smith.
Well, excellent patience that time by Boserman. He was looking in the direction of Stoneburner. Stoneburner was covered up, and he takes his time. Give a lot of credit to that offensive line, though, giving him the time to get to his 3rd read and find Devin Smith down the football field.
Here's Hyde. Hyde submarined at the 5. 2nd and goal coming up. Desmond Merrow, who's in his 6th year out of Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, came up to make the stop. Desmond's dad, Dwayne, played at Wisconsin. His uncle, Vic, former all-conference tight end at Toledo. Red zone last week, Ohio State scored 6 touchdowns and 8 trips inside the 20. This is their first trip there today.
For an injured Toledo player.
And another Toledo player is shaken up, and gently standing at the 1-yard line is Desmond Merrow. And he's trying to nurse that left calf, it looks like. The Toledo loses another man, the defensive end, back in a moment. On 2nd and goal, play action, Ohio State end zone, knocked away. Coverage in the backfield by Taekwon Page as Bosman tried to fit it into Smith, who had a 36-yard completion a moment ago. So that will bring up 3rd and goal now for Ohio State on their first trip to the red zone.
And that looked a lot like the same play that Devin Smith scored last week on a throw from Braxton Miller. Quick slant route across the middle. And in my opinion, on this down, you got to keep your eye on Jake Stoneburner, number 11. He's going to be at the top of your screen, left-hand side of the formation. This is where he shines in this type of situation.
Joined by the other tight end, Fragel, up there. Ohio State 1 for 8 on 3rd downs today. Bosman looks, fires, and he sends that one to the drums. And Ohio State keeps its offense on the field with the flag on the play.
Well, I mentioned this is a time to get the ball in the hands of Stoneburner. Unfortunately, the Toledo defense knew the exact same thing. They were going to be with him the entire time.
Defense, number 5. To the goal line. Automatic first down.
Deontay Morrow flagged. So, fresh set of downs. 1st and goal, Ohio State. Back to the drawing board for the Buckeyes. And they're going to go big here with 2 fullbacks, Zach Bourne and Adam Holman.
Yeah, they've shown this 32 personnel a couple of times this year. When I say 32, I'm talking about 3 running backs and 2 tight ends. Very power-oriented run formation. I expect the Buckeyes to try to pound this one in.
It's Carlos Hyde in the eye. Here's Hyde. Touchdown, Ohio State. So the Buckeyes say, let's quit playing around and power Toledo right off the line. And Ohio State reclaims the lead on the Rockets.
You get into that situation and you almost know exactly what you're going to do. If you're Ohio State, you can almost tell Toledo that we're going to run the football right here. We're in 3 backs, 2 tight ends, and you're going to have to stop it. Unfortunately, in that situation, just too much power up front for Ohio State. And we talked about the power of Carlos Hyde to get that one in the end zone.
And the Buckeyes will go for 2 here to extend the advantage to 7. After Hyde's 2nd touchdown run. Bosman looking to throw. Has plenty of time and sidearms one incomplete, aiming for Verlon Reed. So it remains a 5-point advantage. Taekwon Page had the coverage for Toledo. Toledo converted a 2-point conversion on their first touchdown of the game midway through the first quarter. 7 plays, 53 yards for Ohio State.
Take another look at the touchdown. Of course, 32 personnel. Carlos Hyde going to be tough to stop him in that Ohio State offensive line to get in the end zone. And here's the penalty right here. That's where you're going to see him come into the picture and get the pass interference. There it is right there. He's going to hold on him right there. That's where the flag that they called.
So Ohio State back in front of Toledo 27-22 in a boomerang affair here at the Horseshoe. Hyde with 2 touchdowns today. Midway through the second quarter, they put one in that made it a 1-point Ohio State deficit before Fields' 69-yard punt return gave the Buckeyes their 2nd lead of the game. Eric Page back to return for Toledo. And they're going to pooch another one. Taken at the 31 by Llewellyn. If Llewellyn is thrown for a loss, goes backwards. Let's go back down to the turf and check in with Lisa.
Tom, just a quick injury update. John Simon, who was carted off a few moments ago, I got confirmation from Doug Callan, the head athletic trainer. He said his left leg was cramping up. He wouldn't commit to a yes or no on if Simon would be back. Of course, we saw Corey Brown has the sprained left ankle. His pads are off. He still is in uniform, but he's on crutches. His day is done.
All right, thanks, Lisa. And the day continues for Austin Danton, who has taken the majority of snaps at quarterback for Toledo. After they rotated Terrence Owens in early in the first half. Adonis Thomas is the running back. And here's Thomas. And Thomas dances his way for a gain of 5.5. Andrew Sweat with the stop.
This very well could be an important drive in this ball game. Toledo's continued to answer the bell when Ohio State's made the play. But again, the Buckeyes are up by 5 points right here. Can Austin Danton and company continue to move this football 65 yards down the field and put some points on the board? Because we know that as soon as Ohio State gets some momentum, they've got the ability to put points on the board in a hurry.
Now it's up to the Buckeye defense to come up with a stop. Playing without 2 key players on the defensive line, including John Simon, who Lisa just mentioned. Danton pressured, flushed, and he will run for a first down, escaping the pocket and chasing Jonathan Hankins. Today's Verizon key connection is Toledo quarterback Austin Danton and his wide receiver, junior from Toledo, Eric Page, who has 8 grabs for 110 yards and 2 scores. Page is also thrown to convert a point after. 2 points on the throw from Page.
It's not really a surprise, Tom. This guy had 99 catches last year, averaged almost 8 receptions a game. Obviously able to make plays in the passing game.
On 1st and 10, Danton wants to throw. He gets good coverage and good protection, but throws it incomplete, looking for Page. Page is second in the nation in consecutive games with at least 5 catches in the FBS, second only to Justin Blackman of Oklahoma State and that high-powered Cowboys offense, who's caught more than 5 and 13 straight.
I mean, we talked about an incomplete pass, but look at this catch out of bounds. I mean, left-handed, looks like he's got Velcro on his gloves. I mean, that shows the talent of Eric Page.
2nd and 10. 4 wide. Danton pump fake, sets up the screen, and it is incomplete. Threw it at the feet of his running back, Adonis Thomas. Toledo continues, even though that wasn't effective, continues to use misdirection to keep Ohio State on their heels.
Well, again, I'm sure that they know that Ohio State, that defensive line is very young right now, but you got a chance to see Andrew Sweat recognize that screen early on. He was right in position to make the tackle had it been completed.
Toledo is 0 for 8 on 3rd down conversions today. Danton. Incomplete. C.J. Barnett broke on the ball, and it was going to be an all-or-nothing play if the ball didn't find the turf.
C.J. Barnett looking really comfortable in that secondary, just reading the eyes of Austin Danton. You'll see him right at the top of your screen break into the picture, and this one nearly would have been caught and taken back to the house. Nice break there by C.J. Barnett.
He was looking for Page, was Danton. And Toledo lines up in punt formation on 4th and 10. Penza averaging 43 yards a punt. He has plenty of time for this one. Flag on the play. And it takes a hop out of bounds at about the 20. They're going to mark this one all the way up at the 29-yard line. Flag on the play. It was 4th and 10.
Illegal formation. Kicking team, 5 in the backfield. 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the kick. Ohio State keeps the ball.
3rd illegal formation on the Toledo punt team this afternoon. Ohio State will take the penalty after the kick. Let's take you back to Dave Rebson in the studio for a Discover Card game break.
Thanks, Tom. It is not going so well for Iowa in Ames as Steele Jantz here hits Josh Lentz to put the Cyclones on top. It is 17-60. They've gone to the 4th quarter.
Cyhawk Trophy on the line there in Ames between Iowa and Iowa State. And here, the Horseshoe. Buckeyes haven't lost to an in-state team since 1921. That loss to Oberlin, though, overlooked due to the fact that Ohio Governor Harry Davis and a crowd of 2,500 officially broke ground on this new stadium. back in 1921. Rod Smith gets the carry and brought down after a gain of 1. Good penetration by Toledo. And Terrell Anderson has been all over the field for the Rockets thus far today.
Well, Terrell Anderson and the rest of that linebacking core showing a lot of speed, breaking through that offensive line for Ohio State and making some plays. That's one thing that I've been really impressed by, is how this Toledo defense has got a lot of team speed, and of course we've talked about the experience they have on that side of the ball as well.
Complete to the first down. First catch for Reed Fragel. It goes for 5 and will leave 3rd and 3 for Ohio State.
Reed Fragel and Jake Stoneburner doing that rotation at the tight end position. They feel comfortable with Fragel being a receiver as well, but you see once we get into this important down 3rd and short, they bring number 11 Stoneburner back on the field.
3rd and 3 for Ohio State. Play clock at 2. Bosserman gets it off and he fires near side, complete for a first down. Chris Fields with a gain of 5.
Again, Bosserman showing some poise right there. You saw him put his hands down and walk up towards the line of scrimmage. What he was saying was easy, easy to his offensive line. Went with the audible, went with a really nice, safe 3rd and short call, getting the quick out on the sidelines.
1st and 10. Rod Smith remains in the game at tailback. And here he is as they try to stretch it, and Smith takes it to midfield. Gain of nearly 3 on first down for Ohio State. That's how the 3rd quarter will come to an end here at Ohio Stadium, where the Buckeyes look to avoid a home non-conference loss for the first time in 55 games, going back to 1982. Buckeyes started strong, and they look to finish strong against Toledo. Game day in Columbus and 4th quarter. With Ohio State leading Toledo 27-22. Former Ohio State assistant coach Tim Beckman has had his team in this game from the get-go, as the Buckeyes face a 2nd down at midfield. Joe Bosserman sets up, dials deep, and batted away at the last moment downfield. Devin Smith, the intended receiver. Taekwon Page swatted it away.
Taekwon Page showing a lot of speed right there. A lot of the folks talking about Devin Smith for Ohio State being a burner, and Taekwon Page stayed with him step for step and is able to get his hands up on the ball. Watch him looking at the ball, gets that right hand up to knock the football away. Excellent defensive play right there, preventing a touchdown.
Ohio State has found itself in numerous 2nd and longs and gone to the air a lot here today against Toledo. Now they're left with a 3rd and 7 after the incompletion. Bosserman goes underneath the coverage. Shy the first down is Stoneburner. Toledo only brought 3 that time.
Toledo dropping back into coverage, knowing that Ohio State's going to go through the air, trying to keep everything in front of them, getting their guys lined up on the sticks, forcing Ohio State into surely a punting situation here.
4th and 3.
This is where you need your punter, Ben Buchanan, to be big right here. This is the time when he can go in and pin Toledo back deep in the territory, let Ohio State come out and do what they do best, and that's play defense.
Buchanan trying to hang it up in the air. It'll come down at the 2, and it is down at the 2-yard line is where they're going to mark it. Great punt coverage, a 44-yarder from Buchanan, and the Buckeyes able to cover it.
We talked about Ben Buchanan. This is a time for a punter to shine. Does an excellent job of pinning that ball down inside the 5-yard line as teammates come down and save it before it goes into the end zone.
Zach D'Amico, defensive back, ended up catching up to that one after it was swatted back towards him by, I believe, C.J. Barnett. So Toledo backed up. Play clock at 6. On the ground, not much doing. Michael Bennett with the stop for Ohio State.
And Michael Bennett's a guy that's been drawing a lot of praise, not only from the coaches, but from the teammates as well. True freshman has come in here, and a lot of guys like John Simon and even the offensive linemen have said this guy's come in and played with a lot of passion early on as a true freshman. And a lot of times when true freshmen are just trying to find their way in a new program.
Ohio State played 12 true freshmen last week. Only Texas and Auburn in the FBS played more. Second and 9. Danton all alone in the end zone. Now Thomas joins him on that read. Thomas tries to cut it up. He gets popped, and he'll get stood up at the 4-yard line. Sabino with the tackle for Ohio State.
When you play defense, this is exactly the situation where you get excited to get on the football field. Ball's inside the 5-yard line. And trust me, all those guys, what they have on their mind is, I want to get a guy in the end zone. I want to be the one to make a tackle for the safety. So you're seeing a lot of passion right now by that Ohio State defense.
Toledo 0 for 9 on third down conversions today. Danton has time. He's got all day. And he motions to his receiver. Reed, he wanted him to go down the line but didn't. Punting situation now for Toledo.
Excellent coverage in the back end right there by Ohio State. The Buckeyes only rushed 3 guys. They wanted to make sure they prevented the first down on 3rd and long. But you got to give them a lot of credit for sticking with the receivers for that amount of time. Danton had a lot of time to look down the football field, but everybody was covered up.
Vince Penza to punt it away. Remember, he has shown a propensity to roll to his right, and he is just 2 steps away from the end line. Buckeyes overload the right side. A low line drive taken by Fields at the 44. He's already returned 1 today. Parmy was at the 49, and he takes it down to the 44. 5-yard return after a 37-yard punt from Vince Penza. 12:11 to go in the 4th quarter. Ohio State looking for some breathing room in Toledo territory when we return. .12:11 to go in the 4th quarter from Ohio Stadium. Ohio State working with a short field after great defensive pressure on Toledo following a fantastic punt, and Joe Boserman under center for the Buckeyes. Ohio State keeps it on the ground. Hyde swallowed in the backfield. It will be a loss of 1. Here's our Sprint Unlimited update, and Ohio State sees momentum with this big punt return of 69 yards from Chris Fields with under a minute to go in the first half. Took a 6-point lead into the break. Toledo was able to answer a 4th and 1 conversion that went for a touchdown for Adonis Thomas, and then Hyde with his 2nd score of the day. And that's where we stand. The Buckeyes with a touchdown on this drive can take a 2-score lead with 11:35 and counting. Boserman wants to go deep on 2nd down again, and he lets it go incomplete. Joe Boserman, after last week's game against Akron, was 3rd in the nation in passer rating behind Robert Griffin of Baylor and Chandler Harnish of Northern Illinois. He's at about 53% passing so far today for 158 yards and a touchdown. Yet we have yet to see Braxton Miller, which would imply that this is Joe Boserman's team.
Yeah, absolutely right now, and I would be surprised now if Braxton Miller does get into the ball game. They've committed to Boserman, and they said, you know what, you're going to be the one that's going to either win or lose this football game for us. They've made the commitment to him, but he's in perfect position right now to get the Buckeyes into the end zone again.
Facing a 3rd and 12. They move him a bit. Boserman goes deep. Another unload, and he overshoots his man. And he's had a tough time with the deep ball today and trying to get on the same page with his young receivers, including freshman Devin Smith. Let's check in once again with Lisa.
Tom, we were talking about Braxton Miller, and last week against Akron, he was a little bit away from the quarterbacks. He wasn't wearing a headset. We asked Coach Fickle about that in our meetings, and he said, you know, he doesn't have to wear the headset, but yeah, I would like him a little bit closer to the quarterbacks. That was probably a freshman being a freshman. I've just observed him kind of all afternoon, and he's been with the quarterbacks, has never worn a headset, but kind of kept to himself. Now, I know he's kind of a quiet guy, but he's been very subdued and kind of watching the game and taking it all in.
Fickle said he was most pleased with Miller's response after his first possession and first turn at quarterback last week against Akron when he went 3 and out, but kept his head up. A 32-yard punt, and Toledo will take over, trailing by 5. And once again, Toledo backed up. The start of possession as Ohio State has controlled field position, but unable to take advantage on the Buckeyes' last possession. Austin Danton operating out of the shotgun for Toledo. Danton hands it off, and straight ahead goes Adonis Thomas for a nice gain, nearly 6 on first down. 27-22 as 15th ranked Ohio State has the lead. They haven't lost to an unranked out-of-conference opponent since Florida State in 1982. You played here. This place can be a little bit overwhelming, especially when you get to the fourth quarter and a chance for a win.
Very overwhelming, Tom, and they're going to have to lean on the defense. We've seen the offenses struggle a little bit the past couple of drives. The defense has had the Rockets backed up in their own territory. They've got to get another stop and see if they can't get some momentum offensively for Ohio State.
Let's see if Toledo's intimidated down the stretch as they try to swing it out of the backfield, and not much doing on a catch by Page. Remember, Toledo is a program that has registered some big-time wins as of late, including a 13-10 victory against Michigan just a couple of years ago in the Big House. Last year against Purdue, they've taken down Colorado, Minnesota, Penn State on the road, and had a home win in 03 against 9th-ranked Pitt. Facing a 3rd down and 1, Toledo has yet to convert on 3rd down today. Out of the Wildcat again, it's Adonis Thomas. He takes it straight ahead, and he will pick up the first down. 3rd time that Toledo has faced a short conversion and gone out of the Wildcat to Thomas, who's taken it straight ahead.
And they had an opportunity. J.T. Moore, number 50, the defensive end, came scot-free around the corner. He had an opportunity to bring him down in the backfield. Unfortunately, Thomas slid out of his hands just enough for him to get the first down.
So Danton back out of the shotgun now. The Toledo quarterback trying to direct what would be the biggest win in school history. Danton sets up and incomplete. And we welcome those of you who've been watching South Dakota State and Illinois. The Illini with a big win at home against the Jackrabbits. And here at Ohio Stadium, it's been a back-and-forth game where both teams have seemingly had the momentum. And while Ohio State holds field position right now, the always dangerous Toledo team can put something together with 9:25 to go.
Well, they've shown a lot of fight so far in this ball game. Not intimidated either by the Buckeyes or playing in front of this big crowd. Every time Ohio State has made a big play or put the ball in the end zone, Toledo has come out and answered that with either a score or a long drive.
Tom Hart, Derek Rackley, Lisa Byington, and the rest of our BTN crew here at the Horseshoe, where Ohio State has won 55 straight games against unranked non-conference opponents. This is Thomas again, and he is wrestled to the ground and taken down by the Buckeyes' Jonathan Hankins and J.T. Moore, a redshirt freshman who's seeing extensive playing time on the line.
And Thomas has been impressive this afternoon as well. You talked about it earlier, Tom, a guy that had rushed for over 1,000 yards a year ago, and he continues, whether it's zone reads from the quarterback, snaps out of the Wildcat. Remember, Ohio State does not usually allow a whole lot of yards on the ground to opposing teams.
Danton 12 of 23, 141 yards and a touchdown. Looking to throw on 3rd. Over the middle, complete. Toledo first down, and the Rockets keep the drive going on the grab of the tight end, Danny Noble.
We're getting a chance to see John Simon, number 54, back in the game. He had a chance to get in the face of Austin Danton, but I talked about that fight. Danton stays in the pocket, knows he's going to take a hit from his right side. You see Simon coming in, but still delivers a strike to his receiver and moves the chains.
1st and 10, Toledo. So Simon back on the field for Ohio State. And Austin Danton, the junior quarterback from Tallahassee, Florida, hands it off to Thomas, and he is dropped behind the line. It's Simon once again, along with Andrew Sweat, coming up with a big play for the Buckeyes.
John Simon's got to be big for him here to close out this ball game. We talked about him being one of the more experienced offensive linemen. You see him at a tackle position right there, knifes inside, and is able to make the shoestring tackle.
A reloaded linebacking core for Ohio State. And their coaches told us we lost 7 great seniors off of last year's team, and we're looking for guys to take over leadership and take over when times are tough. Second and 10. Try to set up the screen. Page lost the football on his way down. The line judge says he was down at the 35-yard line. And 3rd and 10 coming up.
Got a chance to see number 2 Christian Bryant slide in there right there at the end, number 2, to make that play, and you can see right at the end the ball pops out just a little bit.
Simon was there to scoop it up, but the play was whistled dead after Thomas had to hurdle his offensive lineman, the right guard Greg Mance. They converted a 3rd down a moment ago by finding the tight end Noble. He's the inside receiver at the top of the formation. Play clock at 3, 2, 1. Danton, pressure, got him. It's Big John Simon playing hurt today for Ohio State, and he wraps him up for a loss of 3.
John Simon coming up big on this drive with a couple of nice quarterback rushes. You're going to see him come at the top of your screen right here and come around the corner, keep fighting the entire time. You see the offensive tackle Mike Vandermeulen rush him around the corner, but he continues to work and gets the sack on Danton.
Simon left the game in the 3rd quarter with an injury and cramps, went back to the locker room, came back out, and he's played strong here in the 4th. Fields, fair catch asked for, and a great grab at the 25-yard line. 5-point lead. Ohio State trying to whittle away the play clock and holding on against Toledo.
USA.
Just a couple miles west of Ohio Stadium sits the former home of legendary coach Woody Hayes. 13 Big Ten titles, 5 national championships for the Ohio State legend. And now proud Buckeye fans will be to know that it's the home of a couple of Ohio State alums. Woody's wife Ann made sure she fully vetted any would-be buyers and made sure she could find a couple of Buckeye diploma holders before selling. Lisa Byington went and talked with the homeowners, and there's still a little bit of Woody back in that house, including up in the closet, I understand, Lisa.
There is, Tom, absolutely. How about a rotating tie rack? Now, the homeowner who I talked to, he wanted to stay anonymous because he said, look, I didn't buy the house to become famous, but he told me that he actually uses the tie rack, but he never put a battery in it, so it doesn't rotate, and he doesn't know if it still works. But you know what? All you got to do is hang your ties, right?
Woody would, on a regular basis, walk to work just a couple miles down the road as Hyde nears the first down, 3rd and 1, in a beautiful neighborhood just off of campus here. And they are no strangers, the family who lives there now, to random Buckeye fans stopping by for pictures and the like, are they, Lisa?
He told me that they get a lot of passerbys. People just show up at the front porch and take pictures, and they're kind of getting used to it. He did say they bought the house back in 1996, and he did say that when they got into the house, there was a knock at the door. They came to the door, and there was a florist standing there with a big bouquet of flowers, and it was from Woody's widow, Ann. And it said, it had a little note that just said, I hope you enjoy the house as much as Woody and I did.
That's great. And Ohio State fans hoping to enjoy a win today against Toledo as they look at a 1st and 10 after the conversion.
15 years in the house, Tom, and a guy couldn't put a battery in the tie rack to see if it worked. It's still not sitting right. At least try and see if it still works.
Here's Hyde, who has 2 touchdowns today, and he's hit behind the line by Malcolm Riley. No gain, 5-point lead. So Ohio State picked up a big first down a moment ago, and Toledo uses the first of their 3 timeouts here in the fourth quarter with 3:51 to go. What do the Rockets need to do to get the ball back and have a chance?
Well, I think they're going to continue to put some pressure on Ohio State. I think I mentioned it earlier. I've seen a lot of guys flying around on that Toledo defense, and we talked earlier in the game about how many starters came back both offensively and defensively, and I think you can see that poise by Toledo, especially on defense when they come out, because they're not fazed by Ohio State. They come out, they make plays. Sometimes they do get beat, but they've been flying around the football field.
Next Saturday, it's another Big Ten football triple header. First, we'll be in Ann Arbor to see Denard Robinson and the Wolverines take on Eastern Michigan. Then Minnesota squares off with Miami of Ohio. And in primetime, the Fighting Illini battle 23rd ranked Arizona State plus other regional action next Saturday in HD, only on BTN. Big win in the desert for Arizona State over former Toledo head coach Gary Pinkel and Missouri in overtime last night. And they'll have tough tests in Champaign. Deep ball. Boserman got it. And an Ohio State first down to Devin Smith. Buckeyes have had a hard time hooking up on those deep passes, but it comes up big with 3:44 to go.
Yeah, Boserman hasn't been too accurate, especially in this second half throwing the long ball. But again, give credit to that offensive line, giving him time to let this play develop. And he throws a really nice strike here to Devin Smith on the sideline.
30-yard gain for Ohio State and a first down. Remember, Toledo used a timeout a moment ago, hoping to force Ohio State 3 and out, but that's their second first down of this drive and their 17th of the game. 3:20 and counting. Smith and Bourne. This is Rod Smith. And Smith has room up the hash marks and a solid gain of first down. The ball came loose. Toledo says they have it. And since 2010, Toledo leads the nation in takeaways, including 5 last week. They get a big one here, and they'll have the ball with 3:08 to go.
Officials still down there sorting it out, but talked about earlier in the game, Rod Smith had a fumble down inside the 10-yard line last week against Akron. Seeing a second fumble for him right now. Unfortunately for Rod Smith, he'll see his carries decline if he can't keep that football tucked away.
Jonathan Lamb fell on the loose ball. And Toledo with 3:08 will put their offense back on the field, and they do so with their second string quarterback Terrence Owens now in command. They send the lefty out there, and a whistle before Toledo gets the playoff. I thought Toledo had really settled on Austin Danton, but now with the game on the line.
The ruling on the previous play is a fumble and a recovery by Toledo. The play is under further review.
Now with the game on the line and looking for a game-winning drive, they turn it over to Terrence Owens. And we'll give you another look. I think Tim Beckman might be frustrated, not just that they're going to go up and look at this, which they look at every play in college football, especially a key turnover here, but he really wanted his offense to get out there and get up tempo and get after it right off the bat.
Well, that's exactly what Toledo's style is offensively. Take another look at the fumble here by Rod Smith, and you mentioned, Tom, that every play is reviewable, and I think it's clear that that ball came out before he hit the ground. You can see it dangling on the turf, and Taekwon Page has looked like he was the one that knocked that ball out.
The ruling on the field was a fumble recovered by Toledo.
You see Taekwon Page come up, and I don't see anything that shows me that his knee was down or any part of his body was down before that football comes out.
They need indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field. So Beckman and company seemingly will retain possession with 3:08 to go. Do you expect them to stay as up-tempo as possible here, or will they take their time knowing that this might be their last shot?
No, I think they're going to go up-tempo, Tom. I think that's the style of offense that they run, and you can see.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Toledo's football. First down.
You can see how comfortable Tim Beckman is on both of his quarterbacks to come with 5. There you can see the ball is out, but that right knee has not touched the ground yet, so that is definitely a fumble, and Toledo takes over. but very comfortable with both of his quarterbacks to put him in the game. 3 minutes left, down 5 points. You got to have a lot of confidence in both your quarterbacks.
Their leading receiver is Eric Page. He has 2 touchdowns today. The lefty quarterback is Terrence Owens. First series in the second half for the Southpaw. Owens goes deep. Batted away. Dominic Clark with the closing speed. And Bernard Reedy comes up empty.
Well, Dominic Clark's going to continue to find playing time on this Ohio State defense, regardless of when Travis Howard comes back, as he just continues to make plays in the passing game. Look at the closing speed. He trailed by about 2 or 3 steps, turns on the Jets right at the end, comes over the top, and knocks it out with the right hand.
That might be the reason that Owens is in the game, the stronger arm of the 2 quarterbacks, but they have plenty of time and 2 timeouts to work it down the field. Instead, Toledo with the home run ball on 1st and 10. Adonis Thomas in the backfield. They're looking for the screen. Thomas has blockers. He has a Toledo first down, and he almost broke that one. Brought down by Adian Sabino. A pickup of 18.
Again, excellent play call by Matt Campbell. Obviously, 2nd down and long. You know it's a passing situation, but he takes advantage of a young defensive front, everybody flying upfield, which opens the field completely up for Adonis Thomas on the screen pass.
Empty backfield for Terrence Owens, a sophomore out of Cleveland's Glenville High School. And he will keep it straight ahead and get stopped at the 49-yard line. Gain of 3. John Simon, Jonathan Hankins with the stop for Ohio State. Toledo stays in the no huddle and up tempo. Owens checks at the line, under 2 minutes to go. Plenty of time on the play clock. Owens, deep ball, incomplete. Looking for Kenny Stafford. And 3rd down coming up now for Toledo.
Once again, excellent coverage by Dominic Clark there. Here's what was interesting to me. The clock was running, and although there was plenty of time on the play clock, they still have 1 minute and 49 seconds. They got to get the ball in the end zone. It's interesting to me that they kept letting that clock run, knowing that they've got to cover 51 yards here in 1 minute 49.
It's the first series in the second half for Terrence Owens at quarterback. Third down, a deafening crowd here at the Horseshoe. Owens pressured, and he chucks this one to the sidelines and incomplete. Adian Sabino got to him, and they'll get the flag against Toledo.
Intentional grounding. Offense, number 2. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. 4th down.
And so here we go with 1:43 remaining. 4th and long for Toledo. They've looked to Stafford, they've looked to Reedy, but they've been unable to find their leading receiver, Page, who is the inside receiver at the bottom of the formation.
Keep your eye on number 54, John Simon. He's lined up at a defensive tackle, as Toledo's going to call a timeout, but he's been the guy that's been making plays defensively in the second half for Ohio State.
Tim Beckman was a coach here on Jim Tressel's staff just a couple of years ago on the defensive side of the ball, along with Luke Fickell, and he told us this week those were some high energy and intense meetings in the defensive meeting room.
Well, absolutely. And you talk about Mike Vrabel now joining the mix, and I got a chance to watch practice on Thursday, and that's exactly what Luke Fickell is. He is constantly running around the practice field, showing all kinds of emotion out there. And if the head coach is doing it, the players have got to go even more.
Our Polaris hardest working player, Andrew Sweat for Ohio State. 5 tackles, 2 for a loss, and he broke up a pass. Luke Fickell looking to go 2-0. Rockets flip their receivers. 4th and 14. Ohio State brings 4. They get to him and complete. A Toledo first down to Page. They finally found him on this drive, and the Rockets stay alive. It's a pickup of 20.
A lot of credit to Terrence Owens right there. Stayed in the pocket and just delivered a strike down the football field to Eric Page.
New lease on life for Toledo. 1 timeout remaining, 90 seconds to go from the horseshoe. Owens, quick hit, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Bernard Reedy. They finally found Page a moment ago.
Owens gets just enough protection from his offensive line, and you're going to see Eric Page, number 12, break towards the sideline. The outside receivers were trying to clear it out and create that void on the sidelines, and Page is not one to drop very many passes.
2nd and 10. Owens steps up, fires long. That is complete to Stafford, and he tries to get out of bounds and will do so. Bradley Roby with the tackle. Toledo driving, looking to take the lead, and they're doing it as unconventional as you can. Terrence Owens played in the first quarter, in the first half. He had yet to see a snap in the second half before they brought him out for the start of this drive.
Not only is that confidence by the coaching staff and Terrence Owens, but give him a lot of credit for coming in after sitting on the sidelines for so long. Number 1, operating the 2-minute offense, and number 2, making some really nice throws in the passing game.
9th play of this drive. 3rd and 3. Owens pressured, hit, got it complete. This is Page, and he's out of bounds for another Toledo first down. Simon blasted the lefty, but just a mere split second after the ball had been delivered. A pickup of 11.
Coaching staff told us that they've got to keep Eric Page on the move, meaning get him in motion so he can come across the formation, confuse the defense a little bit, and he came wide open on a shallow crossing route across the formation.
Ohio State has won 55 straight home games against unranked non-conference foes. Bobby Bowden, Florida State, secured a win back in 1982 here. Nobody has done it since. Owens has time to the end zone and incomplete, trying to find Danny Noble. 1:05 to go with Toledo driving.
And you've got to continue to keep your eye on Eric Page as Toledo's driving down the football field. That time they threw to the opposite side, but when it comes down to this point in the ball game, 65 seconds left in the game, he is the one guy that you've got to think will make a play at this point in the ball game.
Page is the inside receiver at the top of the formation. Toledo has 1 timeout left. They're going to use it here. Pardon me, Ohio State uses a timeout here with Toledo facing a 2nd and 10, and the entire Toledo team comes out to join the offensive huddle. Toledo has some big wins in their recent history, including a home victory against a top 10 team against Pitt. But Derek, if they pull this one off in front of 105,000, this would seemingly be the biggest win in school history.
Well, without a doubt, you're just driving down the road. They're coming to the horseshoe. No in-state team has beat Ohio State in so long, but they've shown so much poise this afternoon that they have not been scared in coming into this environment and playing against the 15th ranked team in the country.
A win at Purdue last year, Colorado the year before, and in the Big House in 2008. That win against Michigan was a slugfest. A 13-10 final where defense ruled the day, and a missed field goal cost Michigan at the end. This one's been a shootout. 1:05 to go, 2nd and 10. Towards the end zone, incomplete, looking for Page, covered deep down the sideline by Christian Bryant. And there's 60 seconds left in this Toledo upset bid. 3rd and 10 now for the Rockets.
Ohio State electing not to go with pressure at this point in the ball game. They've got 3 defensive linemen generally each play with their hands on the ground. They've got another linebacker that's spying into the backfield. They want to make sure that they've got all their resources tied to covering up these wide receivers.
Owens facing a 3rd and 10 out of the shotgun. 5 wide. Zone read. Thomas has it, and he takes it back up the middle. A running play on 3rd and 10. It's obviously 4-down territory, and the clock came down to 52. Michael Bennett, the freshman from Centerville, Ohio, with the stop. Surprised at that play call?
I am a little bit surprised, but they were trying to catch Ohio State off guard, and had Terrence Owens pulled that football out, there was a hole that you could drive a semi-truck through. Obviously, the read told him to hand that ball off, but I almost thought if he would have pulled that out, he would have been walking into the end zone.
52 seconds remain from Ohio Stadium. Toledo facing a 4th and 5. Our United States Marine Corps salutes Eric Page as today's leader of the game. 12 catches, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also threw for a 2-point conversion early in this game.
And it's just business as usual with Eric Page. The guy got off to a really nice start last week. He had a touchdown with 5 catches there. And you can see his versatility coming across the formation in motion. Rarely ever drops the ball. I don't think we've seen it all time this afternoon. And of course, as you mentioned, Tommy, threw the 2-point conversion. A guy that can do a little bit of everything for the Rockets.
4th and 5. Toledo converted a third quarter 4th down for a touchdown. Owens pressured, incomplete. John Simon brought the pressure again, and it's the Ohio State defense which stands up at the end as the Buckeyes look to escape with a home win.
Talked about it earlier this drive, Tom. John Simon has been the guy that has made plays when this game got down to crunch time, and he does again, providing the pressure on Terrence Owens.
A 13-play drive that comes up 5 yards short for Toledo. And Joe Boserman will take a knee and go to 2-0 as the starting quarterback at Ohio State, although this one came with questions on the offensive side.
Let's take a look at that play. Here's John Simon again, lined up at that defensive tackle position, and watch him fire off the ball. You can't do anything about it. He's so quick, he's so fast, and he's strong, and obviously affected the pass by Terrence Owens.
And so Ohio State will have a chance to catch their breath and regroup before heading to Dolphin Stadium to take on Miami. Stay tuned. The State Farm postgame show coming your way for scores, highlights, and analysis of all of today's games, including this one. Luke Fickell had to sweat it out against his former co-worker Tim Beckman and Toledo. And so the Buckeyes win their 56th straight game against an unranked non-conference opponent here at home. Our final, Ohio State 27, Toledo 22. This has been an exclusive presentation of the Big Ten Network. For Derek Rackley and Lisa Byington, I'm Tom Hart saying